Postnord Vårgårda West Sweden road race, 145.3 kilometers. And what a race this is. Last year it was Marianne Vos who came out of the final quarter. A lightning sprint from Marianne Vos to take it last year. Second of the live races here on GCN Racing this weekend. We had the team time trial yesterday. Marianne Noriega is with me again to go through today's coverage. Let's have a look back straight to yesterday though, Marianne. The team time trial that we had, and what a day for Trek-Segafredo.
Yeah, they trained a lot for it, and it was really exciting to see their win. I think they all were excited with each other, and it was a special day for them.
So they rolled off the start ramp. What a makeup of a team as well. They went through every intermediate time check up on the rest of the teams. Ellen van Dijk in the team, but it was Trixie Worrack on the back that was really directing things. And it was quite interesting to see, wasn't it? Trixie doing that to the car behind, who then relays that information to the riders.
Yeah, that's really important to get the plan executed to perfection. So it was great to see that.
And there you have it. That was your results. So Trek-Segafredo took it ahead of Canyon SRAM. Team Sunweb were in third ahead of Bulldomers. So Trek-Segafredo ending the reign of Bulldomers. They had won the Vårgårda team time trial for the last 3 years. A new team this year, Trek-Segafredo. But what can we say? What a team. And they've brought in today as well. They've changed it slightly. Taylor Wiles, who did an absolutely massive turn yesterday to just get the team up to speed. We were both super impressed with that effort. They've swapped her out, and they've brought Lizzie Deignan in today, which is an interesting one, especially with the World Championships not far away.
Yeah, I think they're gonna aim for this race. They want to win it, so Lizzie is a good shot for it. It's gonna be exciting, interesting, and it's a technical race, and it's gonna be an aggressive one.
It's very much the who's who, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
We'll go through everyone that we've got when we get to live pictures. We're already off a racing. We've gone through the first few gravel sections, but Vos, Brand, Van der Breggen, Corin Rivera, Christine Majerus. We're kind of looking, aren't we, at all those riders with the gravel sections that might have that little bit of cyclocross background.
Yeah, it's going to be really unpredictable, but I think the cyclocross riders have a little bit of advantage because they can handle the bike in a technical terrain.
Okay, let's have a look at the map and have a look at what the riders have ahead of them today. We have, first off, a big loop of 66.7 kilometers. This has 5 gravel sections. So out of Vårgårda, we've gone through the first few of the gravel sections already, and you can see through the forest. It's a beautiful part of the world is Sweden. So once we've gone through the 66.7 kilometer big loop, we then go into 3 shorter loops of 11 kilometers each. So you can see here in the blue. And then we will go back out, and we have 3 slightly longer, shorter loops as well, which will take in the 5th gravel section. And as we said, 145.3 kilometers today. It's going to be an exciting one. I'm going to throw you right under the bus right from the off today. Who's your prediction? Who's going to get it today?
I think today is Lucinda Brand day.
Yes, interesting one. Hasn't had a win yet
this
year.
She's been fighting it all year, and I think today is her day.
Oh wow! Do you know what? I'm gonna go today because she's won Strada Bianchi. I'm going for Elisa Longoborghini today.
Nice. I like her
so
too.
We're gonna go for the favourites. Make sure as well, if you want to get involved, you can tweet either Marianne or myself. So I'm at Marty Mac TV. Marianne is Maya Fish. MAIAFISH, and also GCN tweet. Keep an eye on that one, and then the legend who is Johnny Bevan will also put some up on the screen as well that come under the chat forums. We're just getting that system all up and running here on GCN Racing. We'll go full screen. Keep in touch. Let us know where you're watching us today. Out on the road already, Marianne Vos had a bit of a problem on the first gravel section. She had a puncture. We've had a little bit of it. She came back easily as well. There was no real issues for Marianne Vos getting back into the peloton. We had a little crash at the side as well on the little climbing section that we went through on section 3. We just saw Marianne Vos trying to come back. You can see there's a few little splits there. We'll run you through the full riders that you have here. So CCC Liv, they've got number 1 in the ranks, of course, with Marianne Vos. She's backed up. She didn't ride the team time trial yesterday, which was quite interesting for Marianne Vos. So clearly just protecting the legs for today.
Yeah, she's that makes it clear the tactic. She's aiming for this race, and yeah, she wants to win it as well.
So little group. This we just get an idea of where we are. This looks like the head of the race, Marta Bastianelli. You can see there, who is in the Italian national champions jersey. For Canyon SRAM, it looks like Lisa Klein, and it also looks like the style of Hannah Barnes. So as soon as we can get down, we'll give you a full rundown of that. Bull Dolmans, Anna van der Breggen, Caroline Canuella's here, Amy Peters. She is resplendent in her new European Champions jersey, and there she is, right on schedule. Anna van der Breggen there, the world champion. That's Hannah Barnes just on the left there in the black jersey with the multicolours on it. We also look in at this group as well. Looks like Ruth Winder. You can see the American national champion just a little bit further down the group. So this definitely looks like our first breakaway of the day. So good to see them just starting to establish a bit of a gap. And I think the other rider that we've got in there is Lisa Klein, the other Canyon SRAM rider that's in there. Anna van der Breggen just having a little bit of a glance back over the shoulder. For Mitchelton Scott, Sarah Roy, Gracie Elvin, Jess Allen, Grace Brown, who looked like Grace Brown that started this move on the little gravel climb. Monique Teniglo and Georgia Williams, so a strong team. Trek-Segafredo have mixed things up a little bit, as we said from yesterday. Audrey Cordon-Rago, they've brought in Lizzie Dignan, Elisa Longo-Borghini, Ellen Van Dyke, Ruth Winder and Trixie Warrack. That's the makeup of that team. Canyon SRAM, I know a lot of you big fans of Canyon SRAM. So Elena Amelia Sook, Alice and Hannah Barnes, Eleanor Cicchini and Lisa Klein. For Sunweb, Mayerlen's tip for the day, Lucinda Brand. She's backed up by Leah Kirschman, Florentia Mackay, Pernilla Matheson, Corin Rivera and Juliette Labousse. Strong team for them. Park Hotel Valkenburg. The pink colours with the green chevrons. Your favourite kit, isn't it?
Yeah, I love
it. They've got a good team. Lorena Wiebes, we'll watch out for her. Barrett Rymack is there as well. Roxanne Knetterman, Femke Marcus, Devi Vollering and Nina Buisman. WNT Rotor, if you weren't with us yesterday, unfortunately WNT Rotor were involved in a crash with a car before the team time trial. They didn't start yesterday, but they've started today. But they've started a little bit light on riders. So Lisa Brownell, Sarah Rikers, Francisca Braus and Clara Koppenberg are the riders that have started. So just excuse our picture breakup for Team Virtu. Marta Bastianelli, who's in this group. You can see behind it's Trek-Segafredo that are chasing hard to try and bring things back under control. For Virtu, Marta Bastianelli today backed up by Anuska Costa, Kasia Pavlovska, Micah Kruger, Sarah Penton and Barbara Guaris is the makeup of Virtu. For Alecia Pellini, Chloe Hosking, Romy Casper, Soraya Paladin, Eriona Mine, Karen Swinkles, and Diana Pinuela, the Colombian rider, is also in there. Valcar in their bright blue and bright pink colours. They are in the race today. So Marta Bastianelli just on the back of the group there, and Team Movistar. You can see there Shayla Gutierrez, it looks like, for Movistar, that's made it into that group as well. We'll bring you a full rundown of those, but it does. You can see Corin Rivera is in there as well for them. I think Francisca Braus is the WNT Rotor rider. So there's Amy Peters just rolling through. There's Barnes. Rivera is there as well. There's Anna van der Breggen. Lucinda Brand is there. Lucinda Brand, you can see that's why Trek-Segafredo are chasing so strongly as well. There's Bastianelli just on the back. It was Grace Brown 24 that did start this move. And in there as well, it's Romy Casper that's in there for Alecia Pellini. And good to see Amy Peters looking resplendent in that European Champions jersey. And the other rider there looks like Demi Vollering, just coming down the group for Park Hotel Valkenburg. So there's the head of the race. There's the peloton. No time gaps. We've got no time gap graphic at the moment, so we will do our best to keep an eye on that. This is a serious move already.
Yeah, this is a really strong breakaway. I think a lot of the riders are really interested in this move, so they'll work together and see how far they can go.
So Juliette Labousse is the other rider from Sunweb, along with Rivera. So Corin Rivera, you can see there. Amy Peters, the rider in the European Champions jersey, wearing number 13. And she's got the 13s up the right way today. She's got them both up. So there's no bad luck involved there today. No superstition at all.
She's changing it to see if it's luck or not luck, no?
If she wins today, it's one of those numbers. If she wins today, then it'll be totally number 13.
Yeah, she'll do it that way.
Not unlucky at all.
For now on.
Ellen Van Dijk just coming up towards the front for Trek-Segafredo. We didn't quite get a glimpse of where the move went. As I said, just as we were coming on air, Grace Brown made that attack. It was on the third gravel section where they really went for it. And has taken this group away. We'll just run you down through the other teams. So Movistar, we know we've got rider in the break with Shayla Gutierrez. Tibco Silicon Valley, so just 4 riders here. Alison Jackson, Charlotte Lucas, Shannon Mouseed, and Leah Dixon. FDJ Nouvelle Aquitaine Futuroscope, so Lottie Becker, Stina Borgley, Shara Gillo, Milet Groschetet, Lauren Kitchen and Greta Rishu. For BTC City Ljubljana, Evgenia Bojak, watch out for her. Hayley Simmons also in there for BTC City Ljubljana. Then we have the 2 national teams. We have Sweden and Norway. For the home country, Sara Mustonen, Sara Olsen. We were saying earlier, it's got to be the most common name in Sweden, Sara, isn't it?
We have 4 stars in this team.
Yeah. So we've got Clara Lundmark, we have Natalie Eklund, and Sara Hedberg is also there as well. And Lisa Norden, Swedish national road and time trial champion, silver medalist in the 2012 Olympic Games in the triathlon. So she's just really bringing it home for the triathletes today, Lisa Norden, because she was on the front early on, wasn't she?
Yeah, she's a really strong rider. I don't know if she's that confident in a bunch, so that's why I think we saw her at the beginning just pulling in the front.
I think for Lisa, I think a lot of it was the fact that it's fairly daunting, isn't it, coming into a World Tour peloton. So it's when you're taking national titles and you're racing nationally in your home country, there's a difference, isn't there, as a rider between racing domestically and the pressure, the speed, the way the bunch moves as a World Tour bunch when you've got not just a couple of top riders, but the best riders in the world.
Yeah, I think a World Tour bunch is really scary, especially at the beginning, because women's cycling is really aggressive and it's just touching elbows. And if you're not used to that, it becomes a problem. It's something you have to work with. And the only way working with it is just being this kind of races.
One former winner, so Amelia Farlene, and I was keeping tabs on Lisa in the week. I was very lucky. I used to manage her. I looked after her from just after Beijing all the way through London and just after the London Olympics. So I worked quite closely with her. But I was keeping an eye on Amelia Farlene, who is a former winner of this race as well, former national champion. And Amelia, her advice to Lisa was sharpen your elbows.
Yeah, that's a true thing. And especially in women's, because if they see that you have some kind of fear, they'll just go. And by the end, you're going to be in the back of the bunch all the time. You're so strong and you go to the front, but then 30 seconds, you're in the back. So you really have to be aggressive on your riding.
Our final team as well, just the Norwegian national team. And again, I'm trying my best with my Norwegian pronunciations. I did get a bit of a kick in the week after one of our highlights with Stina Borgley. So I got a correction there. And we've had the Arctic race of Norway this week as well. So I'm trying, and I did spend a lot of time in Sweden, so I do try and get my ers and all the umlauts and everything over the names. So we always do our best. Emilia Rötvik is in there. We have Vita Heine, Birgitta Ravendal, Vibeke Listad, Talle Kjellen-Björk is also in there, and Mia Bjørndal Ottestad is the Norwegian team in the race today. A lot of these riders as well looking to just get as well. Double weekend of racing here in Sweden before the ladies' tour of Norway next week, which is coming. So yeah, it's everyone kind of. It's good the way the women's peloton and the way the races are organised. Sometimes the way that everyone just comes up to Scandinavia and bases themselves for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's nice week of racing for the girls, and I think all the girls I've talked to, they really like this kind of racing, and especially all the attention they get in this part of the world.
So Lisa Klein just moving up there, wearing number 45. So Lisa Klein. There's Hannah Barnes wearing number 43. And the rider there from WNT Rota is Franziska Braus. So Braus flying the flag today for WNT Rota. There's Brown, the rider that kind of started the move. So I'm going down my group at the moment, and good to see everyone out with their Sweden football shirts as well. And good to see so many people out today. Van der Breggen, Grace Brown, Winder. We've got Gutierrez, Klein, Peters, Labus, Brand, Casper, Vollering, Rivera, Bastianelli, Barnes, and Braus. If I've mentioned anyone twice, it's just because I'm scribbling my riders down just as I get a glimpse. Good. So we just had a little message through as well. Thanks for your chat from Sports Cyclist. This looks like the winning break. Now, when you look at this, you've got Trek-Segafredo chasing behind, but the whole dynamic of the way the races work here. Sometimes you would come and you'd look at this and you say, yeah, this is completely already the race winning break, but it's the way the racing works in the Women's World Tour and the Women's Pro Peloton. It's not always the case, is it?
No, it's not like the men's. Really strong riders, but I think they still have a lot to go, and I don't know if a lot of teams are interested in this break. Maybe some of the riders are, but if you get the others not working for it, they'll get catched quickly.
On the plus side, though, the only team really, apart from the national teams that have missed this, is Trek-Segafredo. So it's kind of really sort of down to them. You could see their team time trial in it on the front here. It is being left pretty much to them to do the chasing.
Yeah, it doesn't look good for them, but they'll work really hard to get that chase back.
Back up to our breakaway group. I am hoping at some point that they are going to give us our distance to go graphic and perhaps a time gap, but we will do our best to keep an eye on other resources that we can find that.
Yeah, maybe we get to see the blackboard.
Yeah.
That you show the riders. We see how much time they have.
It does happen from time to time. Sometimes on a live production like this, that again, it's completely out of our hands, because it's something that, if you're not familiar with how the timing works in cycling, the GPS signal and the way they do the graphic, there we've got the speed now, so 41 kilometers an hour, but it's taken from this motorbike that's with the Breakaway, the motorbike that's with the Peloton, and the way the graphics team do it, they map the GPS between the two bikes and then work out pretty much, in a lot of the time, it's in real time that they work out the sort of distance between this front motorbike and the motorbike behind, and where they are. So I'm hoping at some point they will give us that. When we get to our next sort of significant section, then we will know where we are. There's Ornunga. So looking at that, so Ornunga here. So I've just we'll have a glance down through the road book as well. We've gone through the first 3 gravel sections, and then we will head towards gravel section number 4, which comes just after Ornunga. So gravel section number 4 comes at Knivstad, which is 2.7 kilometers in length. So if they're showing us that that's Ornunga just ahead of us, then they were hopefully we'll get into that gravel section, which comes, the start of which comes at 53.9 kilometers into the race. So we shouldn't be far away from that, I would say.
Yeah, it's nice to see the gravel sections. It's I think we've seen them in a couple of races, and now we see the time gap, 45 seconds.
So 45 seconds is your gap between the group at the head of the race and the peloton behind. So, good, so again, it's not the gap. They're working nicely together. You could almost look at this front group though and say it's almost too big. Would you say, in terms of trying to get that group organised, trying to get it to get that real sort of continuity of movement? So they're showing there that they're going out to 54 seconds, but maybe enough riders in this group committed to trying to get this group away. Sometimes I would look at a group like this and think it might just be a little bit too big to try and get it organised.
It always depends what they want and what the directors say. So if they tell you from the back car just to work with it, you do, but it looks really good, and the Sunweb team has a couple of riders, so this looks a little bit promising.
So I've just had just keeping an eye on things as well. Movistar, the team car. So just just confirming the 14 riders as well that are in the group. 100 kilometers to go. That was 45 seconds ago from Movistar, and that was from the Movistar team car. So we'll take that as a Movistar team car on Twitter 45 seconds ago until the director decides to put up if we've got the graphics to go point. So they've got they're just confirming as well, because the Movistar team car won't be, they'll be again relating where they are. They won't be up with the breakaway yet, but they're Gutierrez for them, Van der Breggen, Peters, Rivera, Brand, Barnes, Klein, Vollering, Bastianelli, all up there in that group. So
it's nice to see Shayla in the front. I think she's had a difficult season, but this is a good race for her. It's aggressive, and she likes this kind of challenge. So I think she could be a contender for the race.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those riders as well, Shayla Gutierrez, isn't she? She kind of almost pigeonholed herself a couple of years ago as a sprinter, you know, with the victories that she was taking, the races that she was winning. And sometimes that kind of almost, you're thinking, doesn't it? It goes into the back of your mind. I'm a sprinter, I'm a sprinter, I'm a sprinter. I can win this in the sprint. And it stops you sometimes of doing what she's doing now and getting into the breakaways and just putting your nose out in the wind.
Yeah, and even she won the time trial this year in the national championship. So yeah, this couple, like 2 years ago, she started aiming for more different kind of races, and it's good to see. She's a great rider.
I mean, we saw it last week, didn't we, in the European Games with the likes of Elia Viviani. You know, Viviani, Pascal Ackermann in the European Championships. Everyone was like, they're in the breakaway. There are sprinters in the breakaway. And sometimes we forget that they're bike racers, aren't they? But a lot of them, because of those sprinters, you know, when you look at your Kirsten Fields and those sort of sprinters as well, they're paid to sprint, they're paid to win, so they kind of spend most of their day sat back, because that's what they're paid to do. The team is there to bring them to the 150 meters to go, and they sprint. But it's like you have to be able to ride in the breakaways to have a career, don't you? You have to ride as a junior and as a under 23 or whatever, and you have to be able to get into the breakaways, don't you?
Yeah, it's like they put you a label and you have to stick to that. But yeah, I think everybody can try and train and do different stuff. And I think this year we've seen that, like even in the men, it's just starting to change a little bit.
Just a little bit of chat you can see going on here amongst our breakaway group. And again, Sunweb, strength in numbers. And it's Corin Rivera, Lucinda Brand, and Juliette Labousse that's in this breakaway group here. And you've got Ruth Winder in there as well. She's, at the moment, you can see, just sat right down the back, the American national champion. So, again, when you go, it looks like we've just turned right. So that should be into, gravel section 4 here, into Knifstad, 2.7 kilometers in length. Breathtaking. So there we go, 91 kilometers to go. So they're just taking those points. So good to see they've got that one out. But into this this next gravel section, as I said, it's a beautiful part of the world. I've been at this race many times as a sport director, about 10 years ago now, when I had my my men's continental team. But it's a breathtaking. But I absolutely love Sweden and Norway. And again, into these gravel sections, we see it, don't we? We've got our Strada Bianchis, we've got those sort of races. With, you know, it's when in cycling we've got Trobro-Lyon, we've got all of that. And I think it just, as you said a moment ago, it just adds an interesting dynamic to the race, doesn't it?
Yeah, it makes it more unexpected. You can have a lot more mistakes and punctures, so it changes things. And it's like the team time trial. Either you hate it or you love it. And I think a lot of the races that the racers that are here love this kind of racing.
And as well, when you look at gravel racing and the growth of gravel racing, and we hope that gravel racing will stay nice and pure, and as because it kind of like where mountain biking was when I first started mountain biking, when mountain bikes were first invented. That was a long time ago. But you know, adding these in, and I think, you know, when you look at the likes of Lachlan Morton and you know, in you know, sort of Ali Tetrick and people like that, you know, Lachlan Morton taking, you know, his victory in Tour of Utah yesterday was one for the gravel riders. And we're seeing with Matthew Van Der Poel, who's coming in, he's mixing cross and mountain bikes and road. And then we've got, you know, when everyone says, is Matthew Van Der Poel one of a kind, we just kind of, don't we, anyone that's been around, we just park Marianne, we just put Marianne Vos, we're just going to leave Marianne Vos right here for a moment. You know, Olympic champion on the track, she's won on the mountain bike, you know, cross world champion on many occasions, road world champion on many occasions. But I think just adding in the sort of gravel, not being afraid to mix things up in terms of the parkour, the route that race organisers bring into this, it's just going to potentially, would you say, kind of bring a different kind of rider through?
I think it's great to see this, the mixing it up and the riders not being all the time on the road. And you see Anna van der Breggen changing it to mountain bike, and you see them trying different stuff to get better, race differently, more aggressively. So it's a nice kind of racing.
It's great as well when we chatted a minute ago about Lisa Norden. Because we had Annika Langvad, you know, her and Anna van der Breggen went and did the Cape Epic. Then Annika came back and was up there in the World Tour on the road as well. She's a phenomenal rider. But I think now it's nice to see the crossover, and having someone like Lisa Norden here, who, you know, she won the Swedish National Road Race Championships on a pretty tough course, and then did a 70.3 triathlon the next day, and I think finished second in that one. And now there's talk of, okay, can she go to the Tokyo Olympics next year and race, you know, and race on the road. So I think it's nice to see this kind of different crossover and seeing the sort of dynamic of riders coming in and thinking, you know, I can come in and compete at this level. I think it's great to see. If you're just joining us, welcome aboard. This is the next round of the Women's World Tour, the Post Nord Vårgårda West Sweden Road Race. The 14th edition, 145.3 kilometers. You see the riders going past the team personnel at the side. Logistically, again, you put those team personnel out on the gravel sections just to make sure that if a rider punctures and the cars can't get to them, that they can get up there. Our breakaway group, we are at the last check, 91 kilometers to go. We're just gone through that gravel section. So Anna van der Breggen, Grace Brown, Ruth Winder, Shayla Gutierrez, Lisa Klein. We got Amy Peters, Juliette Labousse, Lucinda Brand, Romy Kasper, Demi Vollering, Corin Rivera, Marta Bastianelli, Hannah Barnes, and we also in there as well have Franziska Braus from WNT Rotor. So that's the makeup of your leading group. And we've just seen as well CCC Liv now coming through to assist in the chase. So as we had and as we heard on our little chat forum message from Sports Cyclists, looking like the winning break, the alarm bells start to ring, don't they? And they're now showing them just 30 seconds.
Yeah, this is a scary breakaway, because if these riders work together, they can for sure make it to the finish line. So it's something to, as a director, to say, hey, start chasing and chase hard, because if they go a little more time, they're just going to be impossible to get hold of them.
Yeah, 30 seconds. We're just seeing a tweet. I've just caught a glimpse on your computer, actually, from Peter van der Veen. Koravar was in the break early on as well, but got brought back to work with CCC Live. If you're new to cycling, because of the platforms that we broadcast on here on GCN Racing, so do excuse me sometimes, all of you passionate experts, if we do, because we do throughout, we've seen it throughout cyclocross and into the road, so we do pick apart and explain things for those new viewers as well. Ruth Winder in the breakaway, American national champion, sat on the back. Now, you know, to explain that to someone that might be new to cycling, it's not a position as a rider that you want to be in, is it? Because you can get a certain amount of grief from the rest of your breakaway companions.
Yeah, but if the director says not to work, you just have to sit back and say, hey, they're telling me not to work, and I just have to sit here and see what happens. Because
we're also seeing Demi Vollering, who's just sat there as well, because again, if this breakaway goes, and the way this will go as the race progresses, if they don't bring this breakaway back, there will become a kind of cut-off point, won't there, where Ina Yoko Teutenberg in the car behind for Trek-Segafredo would say to Ruth Winder, who looking, you know, the rider that Ruth Winder is, she's not wearing the American national champions jersey by chance. She's a phenomenal track rider as well. She's a great sprinter. She's a rider that could win this race. There would become a cut-off point where Ina Yoko behind says, right, now you can start to work. Now we'll pass the mantle of leadership for the team today over to you. You were the one that was up there. You were the one that's made it into the breakaway.
Yeah, it's always good to have the director and just follow her orders, because they see things more clearly. Sometimes when you're the breakaway, you want to work and to be in the front and be there and help each other. But if the director says not to work because he has different plans for the team, you just follow the orders.
Marta Bastianelli on the back here wearing number 81. So she swapped the European champions jersey for that Italian.
Still getting used to the jerseys, the new jerseys,
yeah,
no?
It is, isn't it?
In the middle of the season, it's just hard when they change. It's like, oh, yes, it's her.
Yeah, 1 week there in that. Now that European champions jersey's gone over to Amy Peters. But you can see Marta Bastianelli there's got the rainbow bands on the cuffs of her jersey as well. And for the team Virtu rider, this team unfortunately not continuing next season at the moment, so we're still waiting to hear where Marta Bastianelli is going next year. 32 now, is the former world champion. What a season she has had. So again, from March, she won Omloop van het Hageland. She was up there in Strade Bianchi as well. She won the Ronde van Drenthe. She then went on and won the Ronde van Vlaanderen, the Tour of Flanders, which is one of my favourite races of the year as well.
My favourite to race too.
Tour of Flanders, Paris-Roubaix. That's the next edition we need, is the women's Paris-Roubaix as well. That's got to be. That's a long time coming and a necessity, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I would love to see that more than the Tour de France. For sure.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you there. I mean, they used to have, because I know a good friend, you know, Magnus Backsted's daughters, Zoe and Eleanor, used to ride they had a youth and a junior one, and that's now fallen by the wayside as well. It's interesting when you say, you know, you'd rather see Paris-Roubaix than the Tour de France, because all the way through, if you ever get the chance to go to Paris-Roubaix and you've never been, it's amazing. It's the best atmosphere. I described it as if you took all of the pressure and atmosphere in the pressure cooker of the Tour de France and condensed it down into one day, that's Paris-Roubaix.
Yeah, and all the people that are on the road just cheering for you, and it's just like, oh my God, it's something you can, like, if you're not there, you'll never get to experience.
So we're on to gravel section 4 here. So this is the next gravel section. So on to this one. I think a little bit of rain as well. It's just kind of dampened it down. And as well. There's Lisa Norden going through there in the Swedish national champions jersey. I think that's helped as well. I was telling you a little bit earlier on, I remember going and doing the GP Herning in Denmark, which I think is back on the program now. It disappeared for quite a few years. But I remember coming in the team car, and we'd sort of hired team cars because of this is gravel section 5. They've corrected it to Lander. But I'd hired cars to use as team cars and taken the racks and put them on. And I turned up and I got given these beautiful brand new Volvo cars and literally hit the first section of gravel in the Grand Prix Herning, and it was like a dust explosion. And you know, when you would see in a film where you take this car back, and it was just like the difference between when I picked it up, the difference between when I dropped it back. It looked like it looked then like a Volvo that had done about 200,000 miles.
You had to do a before picture and then an after picture. Is it the same car?
Yeah, there you have it. So there's your either side, your split screen between the head of the race and that peloton behind. You can see that the chase really on here, and the riders just watching it on these corners through the gravel sections here in Sweden. But Marta Bastianelli, again, the season that she's having, she's moved on, taken that national title, and the European Championship road race she was looking good again last week. It was Amy Peters, Elena Ciccinini and Lisa Klein that got in that breakaway group, went all the way to the line. The likes of Bastianelli and Wiebes were waiting. They were waiting for that sprint, and then again there was that cut-off point where they went, do you know what, these three could stay away. And if you weren't with us last week for European Championships, we have got our little highlight package. Go back and watch it as well, because I think one thing that stood out for me last week was the 45 to 55 kilometre an hour winds that they were having to deal with as well.
Yeah, especially you saw with the small riders, you can see their bikes just flying from side to side.
And they have Amy Peters on the front that took that title, looking absolutely brilliant in her European Champions jersey on the front here. You can see the assistants on the side. And again, as a team, and it was always sort of the thing as a team director when you come into a race like this, and it's trying to you end up, especially when you don't quite have the full complement of personnel here, you kind of start recruiting local people to kind of work for the team. So you'll put, as you can see there on the gravel sections, and they do it again. Paris-Roubaix is a great example, because you'll see team personnel out on the course, holding up the wheels, just at the riders. So you can see that there's no team cars behind. There's no neutral service car as well, because the gap, because it's sitting around 30 seconds, they won't put the car in until it's over 30 seconds for quite a while, because it's yo-yoing backwards and forwards at the moment. They haven't got that neutral service car, so they're relying on those sort of personnel in between. And that's where it becomes dangerous, isn't it? Because you come off the gravel section back onto the road, and it might not be on the gravel where you puncture. It could be the gravel that you pick up on your tyres that then decides to give you a problem when you get back on the road.
Yeah, especially in this kind of races that the gravel is more packed. It just sticks to your wheel. So we will see, but riders get a lot of punctures, and you need a lot of people to help out. Sometimes you're not, you don't think about all the logistic that goes behind a team, that everything works together, and you need a lot of people.
I would always say to the personnel, is like we are a lake of tranquility. Again, so that everything the riders I always think, going in was that. Everything, I'd have a little chat with all the mechanics and the soigneurs just before and go, we are tranquility. So to the riders, so in front of the riders, it's all tranquil. Everything's all fluffy and all good. Even if behind the scenes everything is just as frantic. It's like, the biggest storm. We cope with the storm, but to the riders it's always fluffy and just all rainbows and unicorns and they never know that anything is going on behind the scenes. But it's just taking that organisation, and you can see out here totally. And then these soigneurs and mechanics, they'll just jump from section to section as well. So you're kind of always as well just planning, right, you then go from there to there and you go from there to there. So yeah, it's not like sometimes as a club rider and an amateur rider, sometimes you just pitch up, you ride the race, you come back, you finish, You know, it's like, oh well, you know, I punctured, but never mind. But you know, when everything's riding on potentially, you know, getting this win. If you win here, you've got a rider that can win. You know, there's nothing worse than losing a race because, you know, you didn't have someone in the right place, or you weren't right with them with the team car when they needed you.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure, and for a mechanic, it's like a race as well. Like you said, you have to be tranquil when you're with the riders, but then when the race starts, it's just chaotic and it's just full on gas.
I used to have to lie down in a dark room sometimes after a day in the team car. Never ate anything, you know, never did anything like that. 40 seconds is your time gap, so they're holding this nicely. We had a good. With a little question as well from John Paul Trinos, just saying how many riders would be a good amount of riders for the breakaway. Just kind of expanding a little bit on what we were saying in terms of a good number for a breakaway. But I think what I was saying about this leading group, and just in terms of it being just too cumbersome, it's when you've got riders sitting on the back, when you haven't got riders, everyone's fully committed. When you see a breakaway, whether it's 2, 3, 4, 5 riders that are just all of them not missing a turn, it's just through and off, it's fluid. But we're seeing in this group at the moment the sort of riders that are sitting on the back, they've been ordered not to contribute.
Yeah, for me, when I was racing, I'd like the 6 to 8 breakaways, because you could control it more and you make everybody work. Like if they didn't work, you just try to just pursue them to work.
Were you scary when you were in a breakaway? I was just like organising it and just pointing at everyone and going down the group and.
It depended on the race. I don't know. I think I look more aggressive than I am. I'm peaceful.
Tranquil. Is the best description.
Yeah, they think I'm scary, but because I'm big, but no, I'm pretty mild.
If you're just joining us, we are on the Women's World Tour here in Sweden. If you want to say hello, so you can tweet the @GCN tweets. We've got our little chat forums. John is just putting them up on the screen. Let us know where you're watching us. @MartyMacTV is my Twitter. @MayaFish is Mayalen's Twitter. If you want to say hello on there, it'd be great to know where you're watching us. Our breakaway group, you can see heading back in towards Vårgårda, Corin Rivera on the front, popular rider. This is your first glimpse here of 300 meters to go. It gives them a little opportunity. You just saw Corin Rivera leading into that corner, and last year Corin Rivera was 8th in this race. It was Marianne Vos that took it from Kirsten Weerd with Lotta Lepisto, Elena Cecchini, Barbara Gorishki was up there, Christine Majeras, Maria Julia Confalonieri, then Rivera, Paternoster and Bujak. That was your top 10 last year. So there we go, 6 laps to the finish. So the next lap, we're now on to the 11.4 kilometers. We're 78.3 kilometers from the finish, so hopefully they will give us that. So that's the end of the big loop. We are now on to the 3 short laps. So the big loop was 66.7 kilometers with 5 gravel sections. Then we go on to 11 kilometers each, then on to the shorter laps of 15.2, which has 1 gravel section on it. So 6 laps to go. Trek-Segafredo still on the front. Audrey Cordon-Rago leading through there. There's Lisa Brenauer just going through. There's Lisa Norden, so still in the group. The Swedish national champion, Marianne Vos, a little bit further down the group there towards the back for Marianne Vos. So had a little bit of a puncture earlier on. And they're now getting a bit of help here from FDJ, Aquitaine Nouvelle Futuroscope. So the FDJ team are well up here in this one, so heading back out. So you'd say, looking at this potentially now, this 11.4 kilometer, this sort of mid loop that we've got here, this is the sort of opportunity for maybe the catch to be made. So we haven't got the complication of the gravel sections on these sort of mid shorter laps.
Yeah, but when the circuit is that twisty, I don't know if you could catch them. It's more difficult. You can move around with less riders easily, and in a bunch, it's just not that easy to catch them. I think they're very lucky with the weather today. It's perfect for the riders.
Yeah, it's a good day today weather-wise. So 15 to 90 degrees Celsius, 59 to 66 degrees Fahrenheit. Just 10 km/h winds for the riders as well. Just dropping off the back here is Leah Dixon for Team Tibco, Silicon Valley Bank. It's a good split screen. You can see out of that corner they're really starting to up the pace on this one, trying to keep that catch. I'm going to get my own stopwatch out as well. I'm going to start putting the stopwatch on for this one. Here you have it's westsweden.com. Plenty of work being done here in this group by Amy Peters. So Amy Peters, just to pick them out, Anna van der Breggen there in your rainbow jersey, and her European champion jersey wearing teammate are on the front. So they are teammates, but again, van der Breggen on this one, she can put Amy Peters to work here, and almost, yeah, that she can skip a little and have a bit of a breather, as Lucinda Brand's doing on the back here as well.
Yeah, I think that's what we've been seeing. It's good to have a teammate on the breakaway because you can just skip turns and get your legs ready for what's going to happen.
And for Sunweb, again, they've got both Brand and Rivera in here. So as this race progresses, you would look to Lucinda Brand to potentially try something attack-wise, and then if that doesn't pay off for Team Sunweb, if they manage to go all the way to the breakaway, then they can shift it back to Corinne Rivera and lead her out for the sprint.
Yeah, I think this breakaway, many of the riders that I think could win are in this breakaway. So it's a scary breakaway.
Yeah, if you put down the who's who. So if you were with us for the team time trial yesterday, great to see so many youngsters out along the side of the road. Young Swedish fans, and got their Sweden football shirts on, and a little bit of an issue here at the back. So just getting on Natalie Eklund. Did she go down on that corner? Let's have a little look.
Looks like it.
So it just looks like she's run a little bit wide there. Oh, just on the little bit of a coming together there. Oh, she's gone down there. So I think the three Swedish riders just had a little bit of a coming together there. Stay clipped in. It's always a nightmare, isn't it, when you get to that point where you're still clipped in with one foot to try and get that foot out.
Yeah, those crashes look like nothing happened, but sometimes where you're not going that fast, it hurts.
So all the team cars behind. So just going back here to the chase. So Natalie Eklund from Sweden. The history of this race as well. There's a lot of history, especially for Team Sweden. So going back through the year, so Marianne Vos has she won this race last year, as we said. Lotta Lepisto won it in 2017. And then we had a win for Sweden with Emilia Farlin. She took that in 2016. She took that ahead of Lepisto and Chantal Black. Jolien Dura in 2015. Chantal Black had a win as well in 2014. Marianne Vos again in 2013. Iris Schlappendal. It was a good victory. It was one of the biggest wins of Iris Schlappendal's career, I think, was this one. Hanke Kupfernagel was up there as well. Marianne Vos. Annemiek van Vleuten had a win in 2011. Just ahead of Ellen van Dijk with Nicole Cook up there. Kirsten Wild getting up there in 2010. 2009, Marianne Vos again. We had Corey Kelly Seehofer, took it for the USA in 2008. And then Chantal Beltman in 2007. And I'm just going back because I'm going back to 2006 with a bit of a legendary Swedish rider in Susanne Jönskog, who won the race back then, and she was of course a double world champion, was Susanne Jönskog. and a real sort of a legend as well. She was a real sort of driving force of Swedish cycling for many years. We had as well riders that were up there over the years in this one as well. The sort of likes of Monica Holler, who was again another phenomenal Swedish rider. Emma Johansson got up there as well. Never won this one, Emma Johansson,
No.
but getting onto the podium on a couple of occasions, then right through to Emilia Farlin, and then into the sort of next generation of Swedish riders that we're seeing now. We're on to Haggrunga. We're on to the next loops here of the 3 short laps of 11 kilometers each. So our breakaway group, if you are just joining us, we'll just confirm them again. So Van der Breggen, Brown, Winder, Gutierrez, Klein, Peters, Labus, Brand, Casper, Vollering, Rivera, Bastianelli, Barnes and Braus. That is the makeup of our leading group.
27 seconds now.
Yeah, so they're just holding it. Was back. It had gone out to almost a minute, and then it's come back a little bit. Just see the Bull Dolman's soigneur at the side here. Again, just getting indicating there's the peloton behind, so it's getting very close. So the chase behind being led by Trek-Segafredo, CCC Liv, and Valcar. As we said a little bit earlier on, we had our message, and there's a little bit of a split going on here. Marianne Vos, you see there in the orange, recognising that she has to bring this one back. Aude Bieniek there in the blue of Movistar, just closing it down. Elena Cecchini for Canyon SRAM, just getting up there as well. But that's, again, as we were saying a little bit earlier on, when you would look at a break like that, looking at the way it's looking, the riders that we had in there, you'd go, that's it, break's gone, that's it. But not the case.
No, as we said, in women's racing is way different. The tactics are different. The riders race differently. The directors. It's not like the men's. It's more aggressive. You cannot control that much. There's a lot of difference between the teams.
Corin Rivera, is that Corin Rivera from the overhead shot? No, that's looks like, is that Lucinda Brand that's making her move? So we're having a Sunweb rider just off the front here, and just going off the front, a little bit of a move. I think that's Labus actually. So I've gone through all 3 of them. My apologies. I do try and pick them out from the helicopter sometimes, but just seeing that group's coming back. And they've made the move again. I think Kraus is the WNT Rotor rider that's just dropped back to the group. But the peloton are in sight here. Hannah Barnes comes through for Canyon SRAM. And I think the reaction behind could potentially, it looks like it's split off a bit of a group that's now coming across. Because you can see there, it doesn't look like the full complement of the peloton. So maybe we'll get the scenario now of an even bigger front group here under the pressure there. So someone gets a souvenir at the side. Not sure that she quite wanted that souvenir there.
No, there's never a easy moment in women's peloton. You're like, no. I remember when they told me, no, it's a flat stage. You can relax. I'm like, what? The flat stages are the worst because it's aggressive attacks, and you never have a time to relax.
Was there a race, was there a part of the world that was sort of one of your favorites to race in?
I loved racing in Belgium. I love the atmosphere, the people, and the courses, and everybody, just like a culture. Everybody knew your name, and you're like, wow, they have a picture of me, and they want me to sign it. It's like, wow, crazy.
There's a little tweet from UCI Women's World Tour. So we're doing the 3 laps of 11 kilometers over the Haggrunga climb. And it's a decent climb, this Haggrunga climb as well. And then 3 more laps at the next laps with 15 kilometers also with the Lander gravel section. So that was that final gravel sector that we've had. I would like them to come back out and gone over the gravel, that nice gravel climb that we had as well. So
yeah, that looked really cool.
Yeah, it's a good route. You can see as well the scenery here around Vårgårda. We go past the golf course, and I always love the red houses in Sweden. It was always my ambition to have a red house in Sweden by a lake.
It's a beautiful part of the world. I loved it. Only in the summer, because the winter for me are really cold. I'm not that happy with cold weather or rainy.
You don't like the cold very much. Whenever Marianne comes into the commentary position into the studio here, when I've had the air conditioning on, it's like, you know, being Scottish, we like the cold. We have that extra layer of insulation. 66 kilometers an hour, our breakaway. It looked like it was almost coming back, and you can see that frantic chase, though, is really affecting things. Alessia Viglia here on the back for Valcar Silence. Just, again, it almost looked like it was coming back. You can see the splits now occurring in this peloton under the pressure of that chase. They almost felt like they've got them, and it's the power of Lisa Klein on the front. This group, again, recognizing that if they wanted this group to go away, stay away to the finish, potentially, they really had to gas it and really put some time back into that group behind them. And there's the aerial shot, so there's your breakaway. They almost had them envision that head-on camera shot as well, just foreshortens the gap very slightly that we had. But you can see again now this gap just starting to go out. There's the peloton just coming into sight here, and it's a smaller front part of the peloton that's just separated itself from the group behind. So there you have it. So there's your breakaway just on the bottom right of your picture. Then the next part, the part of the peloton, and then the group just behind them. And you just saw Marta Bastianelli just talking into a radio as well there, just to get a bit of information from the team behind, the Italian national champion. Looking resplendent in that new kit. Amy Peters just behind her. It's always quite interesting, isn't it? It's amazing the work that the clothing manufacturers do to deliver that jersey for the next race. So I saw Elia Viviani putting pictures up as well, but it's almost the next day that a manufacturer, a team sponsor has that kit jersey designed, that kit designed, and we're a week later. And she'll have a suitcase full of European Champions kit, won't she?
Yeah, once you win it, it's like a prize you have to wear, and it's a pride moment. So every company just wants to get it out there and make it quick. So they put their workers 24 hours to do it and just deliver it as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's a lot of the manufacturers as well. There's not a huge amount of the clothing manufacturers that manufacture everything on site, but they always have a small sort of unit that's sort of set aside especially for their pro teams, and they, to be able to get a one-off kit, ready for a rider quite quickly and print it up and get it out to them. And as you say, there must be, it's not just that pride moment it's that pride moment every race. Anna van der Breggen here with the rainbow jersey, being able to just, if it's a national jersey or a European Champions jersey or a World Champions jersey, just every time you open your bag, it must just be that sort of little smile moment.
And her helmet and the glasses and the bike and the shoes, everything has to just show that she won, and she wears it with a lot of pride.
So coming in towards Vårgårda again, you would have said the last lap that our breakaway group was starting to, was pretty much almost, it was almost game over. You could see that the peloton are behind there, almost within striking distance. As Marianne said, though, it's a twisty circuit that we've got here in Vårgårda on this one. So it's the chase behind, as you can see that there's more riders that are fully committed to this breakaway group now. We go through the town. So that's our first of our 3 little loops done of 11 kilometers each. So you can see 5 to go this time.
I always loved the race that did the circuits because it got people more engaged. When you did a long circuit and never passed through the finish line, it was more like you felt alone all the time. But when you do little laps, it's really cool.
Yeah, definitely. You can get you see the public get them out, and it's not Vårgårda as well. Just to point out, it's not the biggest town in the world as well. I mean, at the last chat, I mean, I can't remember the population. I remember Sweden, the population of Sweden wasn't far off about 10 million people.
I think I've
the
read
last time I checked.
the Vårgårda was 11,000.
Yeah, so you can see there's a good crowd sort of spread out around the circuit. But it's a race that they're very very proud of. Yeah, it was about just under 10 million people in the whole of Sweden in 2017. So that's kind of where it was. You can see our group here, just heading in towards Vårgårda. Back out onto our circuit. Romy Kasper. Again, Romy Kasper has been very animated in recent weeks. Anna van der Breggen there, you can see, just talking into a radio. Again, if you're new to cycling, when you see the riders sort of grab a handful of jersey, they're just talking into the radio, and it's important, isn't it, to have that. You have communication between all of you as riders and backwards and forwards with the team car behind.
Yeah, as I said at the beginning, it's really important to have the director say things to you, because sometimes in the heat of the race you don't think clearly and you cannot communicate that easy. So if you have the radio, it's...
How important is it to have it between each of you, though, between your teammates within the peloton?
I think it depends the team. If you know each other and you've raced with each other a lot, you don't need it that much. But if you just change races and riders, it's good. Sometimes you hate it because you see everything shouting and chaotic, but it's a good tool to have.
Little move from this leading group. Now just clipping off the front. Juliette Labousse here, just making a bit of a move. Again, sort of a little bit of a chat maybe gone on between her and Lucinda Brand and Corin Rivera to decide what to do. What's the tactic? You can see that this bunch has come back together a little bit more. Sort of a little bit of pressure now, just going off the front. So it's still Trek-Segafredo that are there. Christine Majerus, there you can see, just going through. Lorena Wiebes is not far from the front of the peloton. But again, this the longer this breakaway group stays out there, it's just an interesting tactic now from Team Sunweb. Romy Kasper reacts behind, decides that it's time to try and clip off the front. Maybe this could be really, as we were saying earlier on, it's a little bit, that breakaway is quite cumbersome. It hasn't really pushed out more than sort of 50 odd seconds of the advantage. It's been out there for quite a while. As we go on here, they'll start to get that confidence that they can stay away to the finish. But perhaps maybe 4 riders clipping off the front of this one is what this needs now. There might be that general regrouping behind from the rest of the riders, and a sort of 3 or 4 rider group going clear could potentially take this one to the line.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you see the Sunweb riders really want to make this breakaway work. Just attacking and make it quick and not getting the chance of the peloton to catch them.
And it was Anna van der Breggen that was on the front of the breakaway group, just behind our 2 riders that have just attacked. And see what, again, van der Breggen, knowing van der Breggen and the way she rides, van der Breggen would, she doesn't get into a breakaway group like this unless she knows, she feels, as we've seen her time and time again, that she can get, she can sit out there all day like this and go all the way to the line. She would, for her to sit in this breakaway group and work in this breakaway group and potentially, use, the energy that Amy Peters has used in trying to keep this group away, the frustration that she would have if this group did come back, because then it's, it's advantage Lizzie Deignan and Marianne Vos and those riders in the group behind.
Yeah, Anna van der Breggen, she's raced a lot, so she knows really well how to read a race and take decisions. And if she has a teammate with her, it's just her perfect position.
So Mitchelton Scott, the rider, Grace Brown, that started this move as we saw her on that gravel section when she made her move. She's a rider that's just coming through. This group behind Trek-Segafredo just leaving it. They just slightly behind. There's Lorena Wiebes with the red top on her Dutch national champions jersey. And then there's a tiny little gap. Those little gaps just opening. Erion Mine just going through your picture on the front of that one.
I wouldn't want to be the Trek-Segafredo girls today. They're doing a time trial a little bit longer today.
Yeah, team time trial victory yesterday for Trek-Segafredo, and they've got one rider in this leading group. And you can see the peloton just coming out of that corner behind Lisa Klein, Shayla Gutierrez, and Ruth Winder just starting to come up towards the front here. Maybe again with that those team orders, just sort of running a little bit of interference in a way. Corin Rivera comes through to the front now. Good to see the team somewhere brighter making it into the group. But you can see now again the front camera angle here just foreshortens that gap very slightly, but it looks like the Trek-Segafredo will are bringing this one back and under control. It's the catch you can see is almost there. So the orange jerseys of CCC Live. Marianne Vos, if you weren't with us earlier, had a puncture on the first gravel section of the day, calmly rode her way back into the group. Well, onto the climb this time.
Yeah, puncture in the beginning, it's nothing you want to have, especially with the nerves of starting the race. But if it had to happen to somebody, Marianne Vos knows how to deal with that.
And here she comes, straight past. Look at that. Marianne Vos with Lizzie Deignan right with her. Marianne Vos, the catch is made of the breakaway up the Hagrunga climb. And straight away, big move by Marianne Vos, a big attack. No respite for anyone. And Corin Rivera is straight on both of the former world champions. There's Deignan, just comes through. So Vos, Deignan and Rivera is your group. And you can see the Chase is just trying to come across now. So that's how the catch is done. Again, Lisa Norden coming through in the Swedish national champions jersey. Doing a good ride here, Lisa. She's still very much up towards the front.
Yeah, she's a really strong rider, and she wanted to do good in this race. She's been doing the course, the recon, and just talking to also other riders and to see what she can learn. So it would be great to see her in the front.
Audrey Cordon-Rago there for Trek-Segafredo, just sat behind Lottie Becker. Job done, I think, for her. This Hagrunga climb. There's Christine Majeras, so she's a little bit further down this group as well. And this climb, it's one of those days as well. It's just sort of lap after lap. It just starts to hurt, doesn't it?
Yeah, and what I told you, women's cycling, it's never an easy moment. They caught the break. Everybody was like, "Oh, now we're gonna have a breathe," and no, they attacked again, and you have to push it again, and it's just non-stop.
I've just seen my tip go out off the back of the group there, Elisa Longa-Borghini. Oh, what a shame.
Oh.
My prediction. Your breakaway group now. You got a little move off the front. Looks like Grace Brown has got back in here again for Mitchelton Scott, but Rivera for Team Sunweb. Mitchelton Scott represented. Marianne Vos up here, and Trek-Segafredo for Lizzie Deignan. They've done that work. They brought Deignan back up towards the front. You can see it's Canyon Schramm that are chasing. That looks like Elena Emiliasuk that's on the front for Canyon Schramm. But what a phenomenal move by Marianne Vos. Saw that the gap was coming back, and Canyon Schramm, they had Lisa Klein and Hannah Barnes in that initial move, but it is now all changed here in the Post Nord-Vårgårda West Sweden Road Race. This is the 18th round of the Women's World Tour. 17 was yesterday with the team time trial, 145.3 kilometers. We are on our 3 short laps of 11 kilometers each before we go back out. Slightly longer laps at 15.2 kilometers. We have a gravel section on the final loop.
And that was good to see Lizzie, like, she's aiming for this race. And I think their tactics is like, just stay with Marianne. What Marianne does, just stick to her wheel and do not let her move.
Yeah, it's a good move, Marianne Vos. I think looking at the way Marianne Vos is riding this year, I think Marianne Vos has got to go into the World Championships potentially as she looks like a World Championship winning rider for me this year, Marianne Vos.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting worlds. I think there's 5 or 6 riders that could win it.
Definitely, it was Sarah Roy that was up there. So this group again just coming back together. So it's interesting the way that this race is panning out. You can see that the peloton is slightly smaller than it was, but plenty of riders there. There's your Swedish national champion on the back. So good to see her in there and representing the home nation here in Vårgårda. A few golfers just looking to cross the road there. But this is the first let up, really.
I don't think it's gonna last long. Everybody wants to just push the pace and not let the peloton in the back, the chasers in the back get. They like to work with thinner peloton, smaller pelotons.
So you can see on this descent, we've gone up that climb. So an interesting move, little testing move there by Marianne Vos and Lizzie Deignan. Corin Rivera, very, very vigilant, just latched straight on to that one. Here come Team Sunweb again. It's like Juliette Labousse with Lorena Wiebes coming through. So again, another little attack. So again, it's interesting to see the Park Catel Valkenburg rider in the Dutch national champions jersey. It's moved up here. Lisa Klein right on the wheel.
Riders asking the directors what to do, get some feedback.
Yeah, a little bit of a chat into that radio. Just to see what happened. Amy Peters is on the back. Ruth Winder just managing this one again for Trek-Segafredo. So again, little attacks here. As riders down. Oh. So the FDJ rider, you can see there. Just see what's happened. So just gone down there. So Alice Barnes, and then just this was the car. She was just wondering what the car was doing as well. So the car going around here. Does the car clip her back wheel? Yeah, watch this. It does. She was just complaining to the car as well for squeezing round her there. It's you just saw one of our Canyon SRAM riders going down there as well. So back up to the front, the head of the race. Van der Breggen on the front here, the world champion. Ellen van Dijk's that second wheel there, just taking the opportunity just to have a bit of a take on a gel. Caroline Canuel, the Canadian national champion in the red and white jersey, straight in the centre of your picture there, right on the front of the peloton. Here comes Aude Bianique back up towards the front.
We see Lisa Norden as well. She's doing a great job. Yeah,
so all of you triathletes, Lisa Norden, the triathlete who is the Swedish national road and time trial champion, getting her first run out here in the Women's World Tour and acquitting herself admirably in this one. There's Marianne Vos wearing number 1. So just ahead of her, Lucinda Brand. So you just see Lucinda Brand now as we head back in towards the line. There's the Flamme Rouge, so that'll be 1 kilometre to go when we come round towards the finish. So this group has thinned down considerably. We've got quite a lot of our, you would say again, even though this group has swelled in numbers, most of our big favourites have made it in here.
Yeah, I think it's this is usual in women's cycling. They just start too fast, and as we said, there's not as equal the strength of the teams, the riders on the teams. So this happens when they just go full gas from the beginning. This is what they want to do, just get the important riders in the front, and just to avoid the big crashes and the distractions.
So the Women's World Tour kicked off earlier on in the year. So Strada Bianchi, Ronda van Drenthe, Alfredo Binder. The last round that we had was the Ride London Classic, which was won by Lorena Wiebes. Annemiek van Vleuten is leading overall in that one. Marta Cavalli is the rider who's wearing the best young riders jersey in the Women's World Tour. There she is, 101 in that light blue jersey there. So Marta Cavalli is the best young rider in the Women's World Tour.
There was a lot of drama, no? In that London race.
It was, yeah. Kirsten Wields relegated for deviating from her line, to give it its correct and proper term. Chloe Hosking coming down. There was a big crash. But 4 laps to go this time. 4 to go to the finish. So next lap is 11.4 kilometers. So 45.3 kilometers to go in this one in Sweden. This group here you can just see just trying to come back there. Amelie Deirdrickson is in that group, the Danish national champion. Just caught a glimpse of her going through there. So coming up towards the feed. So this this group just coming back. And then your next group coming through. This is the group that contains there Christine Majerus.
It's the first time I see the Peloton relax in this race. It's just a little bit of time to eat and drink.
Yeah, the team cars as well in that gap. There's Alice Barnes, of course, British champion on the back. It wasn't Barnes, that's Alice Barnes that crashed. And there's Alice Barnes, the British champion. I think it was Elena Cecchini that actually went down for Canyon SRAM. This is this tube. But there's normally a barrage that they put in place between these groups. You've got the team cars in that gap just behind the peloton ahead of them. So yeah, quite interesting that those cars are still in that gap. There's the aerial shot now of our group, and what a group it is. Our big names in this one. We're just seeing a few riders just starting to move up towards the front here. It looks like some Virtu jerseys just moving through up towards the front. Corin Rivera, that's smooth pedaling style of the American is there. But Marta Bastianelli's teammates just coming through towards the front for Team Virtu. Maybe being ordered to ride now. They've got 3 of them here for Bastianelli. And maybe a little bit of word from the team leader to get on the front and try and stop some of these groups coming back.
Yeah, it's this point of the race that everything starts to stops and it's gonna start again. The tactics are they're rethinking the tactics, and just the directors see who's strong enough and who's not, what's working, how's the circuit. So I think all of the riders now are receiving directions to work or just to break away.
70 kilometers an hour. They're giving our speed. We're going to head back out and up the climb for the next time. There's Marianne Vos in the center there in that orange jersey. So going through. Gutierrez still in there. That's our young Marshall at the side there. Doing a good job today.
It's great to see the kids involved with cycling and to see their idols just riding.
Ariana Mine here on the back of the group for Relay Cipollini. So the Japanese national champion. There's Corin Rivera wearing 55. Then Caroline Canuel there, the Canadian champion. Let's have a look at this group. So Flortia Mackay has come up. So Team Sunweb have got a few reinforcements now back up towards the front.
They're really making this race different and moving it and really interesting.
It's so looking at this one now, we going on to the climb for the next time. We have that little attack by Marianne Vos. Next time up the climb, we're going to start seeing here 45 kilometers to go. Next time they come round, they're going to go. We'll start going on to that bigger loop where we've got the little gravel section on that final loop, and then. You know, I think next time up this climb, I think Sunweb are looking here to potentially try and line something up for maybe another move by Lucinda Brand.
Yeah, it looks like it. I think it's a good tactic, and yeah, they want to make the peloton smaller.
Some of our young fans at the side there, just showing, busting a few moves there as well. It's a little bit of dancing as they go back. I like that. So as they go past, a little bit more entertainment along the side.
Yeah, and they get to see the riders a lot of times, so it's a good day to have a picnic and to enjoy with the family.
So Paul Dolmans and Amelie Deirdrickson, the Danish champion, now has moved up towards the front of this one again. Pressure just goes off a little bit. It's Vertu again that's moved through towards the front, but Mitchelton Scott, Monique Teniglo in the black and yellow now comes through. The riders just gesturing to each other to around that little bit of road furniture that they've got along the side. But Mitchelton Scott and Sarah Roy is again, she possesses a race-winning sprint to Sarah Roy. So if it did come down to a group sprint from this one, Sarah Roy potentially again a name that we would have up there.
Yeah, she's a really good sprinter. A lot of speed.
Very good speeds. Lisa Brennauer is we can see in there as well now. So for WNT Rota, those riders recovering from that little fairly hefty incident that they had with the car, and they were all right for the most part. Brennauer, Rikers, Braus, and Koppenberg were the riders that started today, and there was just a couple of the riders that were on the start list for the team time trial yesterday that didn't manage to take the start today. So we do wish them well in their recovery.
And Lisa had problems with her chain at the beginning as well. So not a good weekend for the team for now.
She's back in there, and again, Lisa Brennauer, great sprinter. Mitchelton Scott well up towards the front here with this one. So Roy, Elvin, Allen, Brown, Teniglo, and Williams. That's the makeup of that team, Team Norway. So the Norwegian national team moving through towards the front. So we're heading back round onto the Hagrunga climb. Ellen van Dijk moving up for Trek-Segafredo. You can see everyone just jostling for positions as they look to try and launch something. Well, this one, there's Anna van der Breggen wearing number 11, her teammate right behind her. Norden there wearing 154. Karin Swinkles there, 95. So in as well, Oudbianik, Roxanne Fournier, I think, is there wearing 112. So the rider wearing 112 for Movistar. So again, another fast rider is Roxanne Fournier, fast finisher. She is as well. Clara Koppenberg just getting rid of the gilet there. First opportunity really you've had to sort of get rid of things here, isn't it?
Yeah, but I don't think it's a good moment, though, in the middle of the uphill. I wouldn't do that at that time.
Lorena Wiebes just indicating to the side as just looking maybe for a feed from the soigneurs along the side there.
Yeah, this was the point where you just had to fight for position, and if you saw your soigneur just go by like, no, I don't have anything to eat, what would I do?
Again, if you're in when you're in this position, if you do miss your feed along the side, there's a lot of the time your teammates behind you will grab something for you if they don't see. And we do see from time to time, don't we, as well, riders from other teams that will potentially, if a rider in front of them misses a bottle and they grab it, they will. There's that sporting element, isn't there, in cycling?
Yeah, that's. I remember one year in the Giro Rosa in one stage, it was really, really hot, and I missed the feed zone, and Iris Slapler, she gave me a bottle, and I would always remember that moment, because I think if it wasn't for her, I would have just passed out in the middle of the road. So yeah, that says a lot about the riders.
Again, little testing moves off the front here from Mitchelton Scott. Does look like, again, from the front on shot here, like Grace Barron. Ellen van Dijk just reacts as well behind her. So again, just the start of another little move. Aude Bionique just trying to come across. She looks like Juliette Labouche again that's in there. It does look like the style of Floortje Mackay from Team Sunweb as well, also trying to come across. Nice little bit of bike art just carved into the field there. So nicely done. But again, just a little group off the front, then 5 chasers as they just try and get clear here. And it's Amy Peters that's just dragging this one back.
It's that point where all the riders are looking around. What's happening? What is this the decisive move? I don't think anybody right now wants to waste any energy.
Not at all. Now the Virtu jerseys. That looks like a Nuska Costa that's now making it a little bit of a move. Lizzie Deignan straight on her though. So the Virtu rider goes. Deignan reacts. And again, straight away, it's Team Sunweb. The colours of Team Sunweb that go. I think Jean Coravart is the rider that's reacting. Amy Peters does as well. We just now we've sort of had that little holding pattern for a while, haven't we? And now we need to start as we come round towards Vårgårda for the next time. We need to start just to see the sort of those riders that don't want this to come down to a group sprint. Just need to try and take this one away.
I think that's slower pace was just the last we will see in this race. It was just a little breather. Everybody was eating and drinking and getting some peace. And now it's back to full gas again.
It's just that little opportunity just to have a drink, have something to eat, grab a bottle, take off your jacket, get rid of your jacket just before everything goes off. Again, thanks for your tweet as well. Charity, regular viewer over there in the Philippines, just come back from dinner. I hope it was a good one over there in the Philippines. Thanks for checking in. So if you do want to say hi, make sure you do. We've got a little chat bits going on. John's monitoring those as well, and you can tweet us as well if you want to say hi. This looks like just the old front on shot here. There's Sarah Roy that's going clear here. So Sarah Roy now makes a move for Mitchelton Scott. I think it's Confalonieri that's here as well for Valcar. And a bit of a reaction coming from Canyon Schramm. So now these moves starting to go. We're going to move on to our final circuits of the day, which has another section of gravel. So if you weren't with us earlier on, this is the Post Nord Vårgårda West Sweden road race, 145.3 kilometers. We had a big loop of 66.7 kilometers with 5 gravel sections. Then onto this smaller loop of 11 kilometers. Then we have 3 shorter laps with the gravel section. And we had our early breakaway group, which you would have looked at it and thought it was going all the way to the finish. All in there. Van der Breggen, Brown, Winder, Gutierrez, Klein, Peters, Labouche, Brand, Casper, Vollering, Rivera, Bastianelli, Barnes and Brous. That was the make of the group. They never really gained. They almost hit a minute, but Trek-Segafredo right from the off were not letting that breakaway go. And they had sort of 45 seconds with 100 kilometers to go. All came back together on the Högrunda Hill. Marianne Vos and Lizzie Deignan, big attack that went in on that one. Didn't manage to get clear. But now we have a 5-rider group just clipping off the front here. But again, those reactions behind. Yeah, let us know where you're watching us today. Martin McDonald and Maylen Noriega with you today. And this Philip Martindale, thanks for saying hi. Great pleasure to be able to watch this race live. Thank you. So make sure you subscribe to GCN Racing. We have more live action to come next week. The Ladies Tour of Norway live. And then we will have the Colorado Classic as well live for you next week. And of course, we go into the Vuelta where we will have daily highlights of the Vuelta. Back to the bunch. Lisa Norden there, 154, riding out of her skin today in this one. Erska Pintar is the rider that was just in front of her. And a little attack now going in from Park Hotel Valkenburg. I think it's Femke Marcus looking at the aerial shot there. Femke Marcus. Floortje Mackay right behind her. Floortje there for Team Sunweb. So again, another strong rider, Floortje Mackay. There's Ariana Mide just moving up, the Japanese national champion. There's Vos. So all the time the cameras do come back to Marianne Vos, as you would expect. She won the race last year. Grace Brown wearing 24 just in front of her. This is Maria Giulia Confalonieri. So with her, there's Shayla Gutierrez wearing 113. We did as well, knowing this group, that Aude Bionic and Roxanne Fournier were another couple of the Movistar riders that were in here. They've got 4 in total have Movistar. You'd say that Lourdes Orobide was also in there. I haven't seen that jersey yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen Lourdes.
But our group now, again, these little testing moves. So we're starting again. You just see that little group just going off the front. Jonna Mine is there, just gets across. Van der Breggen, though, reacting. The world champions jersey you can see on the front. But the Aleix Cipollini rider, the national champion of Japan, now going clear in this 3-rider group. So again, this could be for these riders, you can just see the pressure just going off the front of the peloton a little bit here. So for those riders, again, you just see the way that the makeup of that group that's just clipped off the front here in towards Vårgårda this time. 150 meters to go up towards the line. So this is, again, this could be a good move to take the pressure out of the race again. Just let these riders go clear, maybe give them a minute. And yeah, 3 laps to go. So 15.4 kilometers is the next lap.
Yeah, now we start with the 3 last laps that are a little bit longer than the previous ones.
So a couple of riders just trying to come across here. So this lap now has the 5th gravel section on it. And so you can see the likes of Sunweb and CCC were just quite happy to just potentially just let this one go. But the reaction straight away, again, you see those orange jerseys. Any one of them that moves, and everyone's straight on. There's Marta Bastianelli, that Italian national champions jersey, very evident in the moves today. Georgia Williams just a little bit further down. This is our group behind. Christine Majerus on the front of this one for Bull Dolmans. Alice Barnes is in there, the British champion. And Elisa Longoborghini is in that second group. And right with her as well, Audrey Cordon-Rago in the chasers.
Yeah, looking at this group, you can see how fast the race was going at the beginning. There's usually really great riders that never get dropped, but yeah, today it's just been full gas since the beginning. Yeah,
definitely. There's that momentary lull in the middle of things. So that chasing group going through. And just in there as well. Back up to our leaders, back up to the head of the race. Jonna Mine swings off. I'll get confirmation, but I think it's Femke Marcus that's just flicking the elbow. So right, the other 2 riders come through. So Valcart, Silence, the other 2 riders, I think it's Peroni that's up there for Valcart, Silence. Just get a proper look at them when they come through. And again, you can see straight away they've built a good advantage, our 3 leaders.
Yeah, you can see them still looking back. I don't think they believe that they let them go that much. It's a good break for them.
It is indeed.
Nice breathe for the peloton as well. Like, yeah, maybe this is the last time.
That peloton just content with the makeup of our leading group at the moment.
And I love how the little girl is just so excited to see them go through. She's changed her way of telling them where to go every lap they've done.
So good style. Always got to style it out a little bit when you're marshalling. So I think it's Marit Rijmakers that's in there, and it is Elena Peroni that's also in there for Valkar. So I think the 62 it is from Park Hotel Valkenburg with Eri Yonemine from Japan. So that is your new leading group. So just past this group, and again, this sort of narrow section that you get, you can see that the peloton all lined out through this section. I think they'll just let this group just sit off the front for a little while. Corin Rivera just coming through on the front for Team Sunweb. So for Sunweb, again, you look at that, and Corin Rivera used quite a lot of energy so far today, being in that early breakaway group. And now on the front, just trying to get clear.
Yeah, the team has been very aggressive since the beginning.
So there you have it. So, oh, I've just clocked my number there. So it's Roxanne Knaterman that's got there. So my apologies. I'll correct myself on that one. So Roxanne Knaterman from Park Hotel Valkenburg with Eri Yonemine and Elena Peroni from Valkar Silence. So they haven't given us a time gap as of yet, but you can see that they're building a considerable advantage. So this lap we now have one gravel section on this longer loop. So a few changes to the course. The gravel sections have definitely been a good addition. It really lit up the early part of the race. I would say, what would you say, looking at the way the way the race is settled in the middle with the smooth sort of 11-kilometer shorter circuits on this one? I'd had the gravel in on each lap. I think it kind of really set things up really early in this one. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the race organizers might wanted to have a little bit of everything. Maybe just in the middle of the race, just get them more relaxed without the gravel, and then by the end, just spice it up again and put more gravel. But I love gravel, so I would just do half of the race gravel and half of the race road. It just gets anything, unexpected changes and flats and mechanicals, and it gets more exciting, the race.
Yeah, we'll see if anything affects this one as on these final loops, this final little gravel section we went through. It was the 5th gravel section that we had on the previous loops.
Now they're watching each other.
So it's a 3.1 kilometer section of gravel is this one. It's got a little bit of looking at the profiles, not a huge amount of, it's a bit rolling like this, is that gravel section. Unlike sort of some of what we have. We've still got Hagrunga though, we've still got the Hagrunga climb for the riders to negotiate as well. So if you've been with us throughout the coverage today, we've had this Hagrunga hill on the shorter loop. It's now on the longer loop, which now has the addition of the gravel. Monique Teniglo now goes on the attack here for Mitchelton Scott. So the rider there wearing 25. Monique really, again, sort of rider, real powerhouse rider. She's the sort of rider that we see. She used to into Mitchelton Scott, a rider that used to be with FDJ, sort of rider we would see just on the front for kilometre after kilometre after kilometre, just controlling the peloton. But again, these are sort of days where potentially she gets an opportunity to try something for herself.
And I think coming from where she's coming, she loves this kind of racing, just smaller roads, the gravel, the more aggressive riding. This is different what she's used to riding in the summer, just the Giros and longer races that she has to work for the team.
So Park Hotel Valkenburg represented in there by Roxanne Knetemann. So 32 years old now is Roxanne. And one of those riders that's kind of promised a lot early on in her career, never quite took the victories that many people expected of her, but class act is Roxanne Knetemann. There's a little look down the back of the group, so you can see how much this Hagrunga climb is still affecting the riders. So Sweden will be happy that they've still got their national champion in there as well. Sara Penton is the Virtu rider wearing 85. She's another one of the Swedish riders that's in there.
Yeah, they're doing a great job. Lisa has been riding really strong, and she's been in the front a lot and seeing what's going to happen.
Eri Yonamine there wearing number 94, the Japanese national champion. So again, she's one of those riders, 4 times national road race champion, so no one's getting a look in Japan at the moment when it comes to that jersey. She's also won the national time trial championships 5 times, so she's like Alice Barnes, a double national champion at the moment. And again, rider that turned pro back in 2016. She rode with Higgins Berman Supermint, then over to Poitou-Charentes, then into FDJ, and then to Wiggle High Five before joining Ale Cipollini this year. 18 seconds is your time gap back from your breakaway group. And for Eri, as with a lot of riders, you know, they're dominant in their national championships. She's had some good placings. She was 6th overall in the Women's Tour of Scotland last week. So she's sort of moved around a few little teams, but she just seems this year like she's starting to feel sort of comfortable within Ale Cipollini, getting the sort of experience of the riders around her, and she's sort of one of those riders, I think, that's kind of almost just on the cusp of winning something, sort of something big. I mean, don't get me wrong, winning so many national titles is amazing, but I think Eri, just for me, I think she's on the cusp of a big win quite soon.
Yeah, I think it's different racing in Japan and in Europe. So it's good to see her in front in Europe in this kind of races, and she has a important year ahead of her because she has the Olympics next year. So I bet she's really working with that and wants to do good in her home country.
Yeah. Can you imagine winning that Olympic Games in your home country? Lizzie Deignan got close in 2012. Marianne Vos out-sprinting her in that one. I remember that day. I was out on Box Hill with my daughter on that day. It was absolute. It was like Armageddon rain, I think, that day. And I think again, 2012, the London Olympics. It was. Sort of again held up there for all of us that have been in the know for a long time, but for a lot of people it was the race of the games, and it was sort of that sort of I don't know about you, but the 2012 Olympic road race for me, it looked like it was the start of the launch pad of where we're getting to now in women's pro cycling. We've got a long way to go, as we were saying yesterday, in terms of equality and wages and making sure everyone gets paid, but it looked like it was a start, because a lot of the time in the past we would see the Olympic cycle where teams would appear, they'd get into the Olympics, then the teams would disappear, and then riders would be scrabbling around for rides. It looked like after the 2012 Olympics we started to see that growth. We started to see, you know, the teams coming on board. We've now got, you know, Mitchelton Scott, we've got Trek-Segafredo, we've got Sunweb, you know, we've got all of these sort of teams, Movistar that are adding sort of to their sort of rosters as well. The way, you know, there's teams that have been around for a long time that have kind of evolved out of other teams like Canyon, SRAM and teams like that. But it just seemed like that was that for me was the start. Then we went into Rio, and now we go into Tokyo, and we just sort of seem like we almost seem now that we're starting to get a little bit of momentum. Would you say?
Yeah, I agree with you. I still remember those Olympics. I was there because I was racing as a guide for the Paralympics in cycling, and I remember just all the people cheering, and I've always seen the English women really strong, and I think it's a federation that makes it really equal between the men and the women. And yeah, it was, for me, it was a turning point.
Sweden as well, as we were saying yesterday as well. Sweden is, again, it's been a country that's produced a lot of riders, as we were saying earlier on, with the likes of Susan Jonsgaard and Emma Johansson, who's now retired. And whenever I was up in Sweden, they have a great sort of outlook, and they have a stage race just before this one as well, the U6 Cycle Tour, which has sort of races for sort of youngsters, youth riders, all the way through up to the elites. And they're very open as well in the fact. I'm just going to cut Peter van der Veen. So fun fact, none of these riders won a regular UCI race. Peroni, of course, won the junior individual title on World Road Racing in Bergen and is the current Italian time trial champion, 11 times national champion, Eri Ionamine. Peroni, World Junior individual title and road race. 36.1 kilometers to go. If you are just joining us, we are in Sweden on the second day of 2 here at the Post-Nord Vårgårda road race. It was Trek-Segafredo that won the team time trial yesterday onto the Lander gravel section. So 3.1 kilometers. You can see the riders just dropping into this one. So excuse a little bit of picture breakup as they dropped into that section. But the Aleix Cipollini rider, there's confirmation of your group. So Eri Ionamine, Elena Peroni, and Roxanne Knetemann. That is the group. So Japan, Italy, and the Netherlands represented in this leading group. So Aleix Cipollini, Valkar, Silence, and Park Hotel Valkenburg. That is the makeup of your team, but look at the peloton behind as they headed towards the gravel section. We've seen Dijkman and Vos and Deirdrickson and all those riders started to come up towards the front. Being down the back here is not the position that you want to be on this gravel section.
No, and you see other riders, either they choose the right side or the left side, because you see the center, it's pretty rocky. So there's a lot of cars that go through, and it's packed, so it's okay.
Because again, these sort of sections, just like coming into a narrow climb, coming into a cobble section in whatever race, if you want to be in contention in this one, we're going to see, especially on the laps to come, Trek-Segafredo, CCC Live, Bull Dolmans, all leading, trying to bring their leaders through. You can't now, with these laps to go, you can't be back in this peloton. If you've got to be near the front going into these gravel sections, haven't you? Because it's very difficult. You could see the peloton at the moment, they're left and right. There's not anywhere really. It's very difficult to move up unless you're going to go right down this sort of very stony section through the middle, which again you start to risk punctures.
Yeah, you have to fight for position, especially when you're getting into these gravel sections. You want your team to get you in the front and have you secured for crashes, for punctures, for mechanicals. So yeah, you have to be really aggressive.
Thanks to John Ryland for your message, and just saying hey from Central California, USA, enjoying the race, and then later Arctic race of Norway. Thanks for checking in to GCN Racing. Glad you're enjoying our coverage. So Eri Ionamine, Elena Peroni, and Roxanne Knetemann, that is your breakaway group. Look at the gravel. Ionamine just trying to control that slide, a little controlled slide there from the Aleix Cipollini rider on the front. You just saw how deep that gravel was on the corner as well. And for some road riders, again, they might not always have ridden on fairly loose gravel like that. So it's going to take a while for some riders just to get used to it in a way.
Yeah, it's different, especially when you're tired. The bike moves a little, so it scares you sometimes. So you have to pedal through the curves to get your bike in control. just a different kind of riding.
It's like cyclocross, isn't it? It's a controlled slide. That's what Helen Wyman always said in our cyclocross coverage. It's maximum slidability. People, when we're thinking about cyclocross and we look at tyres, we think of grip. And then, most cross riders and pro cross riders, it's the maximum amount of slidability you can have, isn't it? You've raced cross as well, pro cross.
Yeah, but sometimes for turning, I usually just power through, and the guys would tell me like, no, you have to just pedal through and slide your tire. I'm like, no, I don't want my tires sliding. But yeah, once you get used to that sliding and that controlling of the bike, it's really exciting. But what happens when you're here and you're not used to it, you just see your bike sliding and you freak out and you just grab the brakes, and that's usually what you don't have to do.
You can see through that Roxanne Knetemann on the back here for Park Hotel Valkenburg. They've got Lorena Wiebes in here, the peloton behind. They've done the right thing. They just let this group go clear. They're just going to bouncing across the bridge there. Just let that brake just go. Just gives them a little bit of a moment to just sort of take the pressure off. You see the team cars as well there, just with the mechanics just on the exit of the gravel. Just to make sure, again, as we said, if you come off the gravel, you're onto the road. That, again, was potentially where you could get that puncture. They know that they've got the team helpers just on the exits of those gravel sections, just in case they need them. So they're going past there. So Urska Pinto there wearing 141. She's fighting for BTC City Ljubljana to just stay in that group. And definitely a ride of the day. Lisa Norden here, 154. International world famous triathlete, silver medalist in London 2012 in the Olympic Games in the triathlon. It's great for her to her first outing here in the women's world tour, and still in this peloton.
Yeah, she was thinking about aiming for the Olympics next year. So yeah, that's a good crossover. She's always been really strong on the bike, but I think bike racing is not just being strong. You have to work a lot on the tactics, on the technique, on the bunch riding. So it's good for her to just try to be in this race and see how it works.
So the Vårgårda as our breakaway group. The peloton has got them in sight here. So Vårgårda has got an international cycling tradition. Just to give you a little bit of history on Vårgårda as we head around here. It's got a sort of over 50 years. So back in the 60s, there's 4 brothers. So Gösta, Sture, Erik, and Thomas Pettersson. They became world champions 5 times. They were Olympic medalists in 1964 and 1968 in the team time trial, which was the 100-kilometer 4-up team time trial. That's why, again, we said a bit of history yesterday in that team time trial. As a pro, Gösta Pettersson was also the winner of the Giro d'Italia in 1972. So quite unique in cycling that 4 brothers have been extremely successful, and there's a museum in Vårgårda called the Fågelum Museet. So if you ever get to Vårgårda, you can go and check out to the museum to the Pettersson brothers. Bit of a move now going in. So Virtu just going off the front. I think it's Anuska Costa that's going. Grace Brown again. It was looked like number 24 that was going off the front. Peroni, Yonamine, and Knetemann. Good move by these 3 riders, though. Good to see them getting themselves up there. Peroni, as Mr. van der Steen said in his tweet, former junior time trial and road race champion of the world. And for these riders, just started making their way as elite riders. 1 kilometer to go in towards the finish, and this group may be caught on this next lap. That's the other thing in women's pro cycling as well that we forget when we look at riders like Elena Peroni and a lot of other young riders, is that we don't currently have an under 23 class in women's cycling, and we're seeing it in the men's side with the likes of Remco Evenepoel turning pro at, and going into the World Tour at 19. In women's cycling, that's the case, isn't it? And so you go through as a junior, you might be like Eleanor and you're world junior champion, and at 18, all of a sudden you're stepping up and you're in with your Ellen Van Dykes and your best riders in the world.
Yeah, it's a really big step from junior just to go to that races, but that's a normal thing in women.
It is. So they're heading in towards the finish. This final right-hand corner where last year Marianne Vos just went into the corner. If you say she just went into the corner at warp speed, basically, and came out of the corner and no one was ever coming back to her. Ellen van Dijk is the rider that's dragging it back. Looks like Lucinda Brand is also there as well. So it looks like 150 meters to go that it's going to be all over for this little breakaway trio, but good effort. Just what we needed at the time for the race.
2 more laps to go.
They're saying end of lap 6. So they're saying they're now. I think they've had our graph. Have they had our graphic wrong? Final lap. They're saying 30 kilometers to go. We got 2 laps to go. They're giving us final lap here. So we've only had 1 gravel section on the thing. I'm going to check the road book now as well, just because I love it when they do that to us. They go
I'm
up
almost sure it's 2 laps to go.
Yeah. So we've got the Harunga lap, and then 3 long Harunga laps, 15.2 kilometers each. So yeah, I think they might. I think they've got our graphics wrong there, but it always just slightly freaks me out as a commentator when the graphics they do that, and you go, because we only had one trip onto the gravel in that one. We should have 3.
We still have 2 more to go.
We do, yeah. So I think they've had their case to go wrong slightly, and the voice of calm in my ears, John, has just said yes. So 31 kilometers, we head back into Vårgårda. 2 laps to go. They just give me a heart attack when they do that. and if you're watching today, it's something. There's something comforting about when they say to you, "What do you do for a living?" I say, "I watch telly and I talk about bike racing," but I have someone that talks in my ears all the time. And when you don't have Johnny Bevan talking in your ears, sometimes when you've been on a race and you're there and he's just that calming voice in the background, it's we need that. Everyone needs someone talking in their ears all the time. It's the voices in my head.
Yeah, especially after so many laps and bigger laps, smaller laps, you're sometimes like, oh, have they done 6 or 7 or just a little bit lost.
Honestly, apologies for that. Just when they put up final lap there, someone was decided to play with our minds there. Back to the race. Anna van der Breggen, the world champion there, wearing number 11. Erska Pintar right on the back. She's been fighting to stay there. Lisa Norden just staying on the back of the group here. Our cameraman decides it's time to clean the lens. Elena Emiliasuk looks like the rider now that's going off the front. Amelie Deirdrickson just reacts. Lisa Brennauer is the rider in the German champions jersey. Lorena Wiebes just up there as well. So Wiebes, the Dutch national champion, and for Park Hotel Valkenburg. Thanks to Donald Hover, waking up there in good to wake up to some live racing in New York City, USA, NYC, USA. Our young marshal there. Great to see her again on there. But thanks for checking in, Donald. Thanks for saying hi. Glad you're enjoying our coverage here on GCN Racing. Remember, loads more live action and highlights to come. If you're watching on GCN Racing for the first time and you're curious as to the cyclocross this winter, yes, the cyclocross will also be on our YouTube channel and live on Facebook as well. Lisa Klein, the rider that was in the breakaway last week with European champion Amy Peters, took 3rd in that sprint. Amy Peters and Elena Cecchini with the riders. There's Amy Peters, you can see in that white jersey of European champion. A few riders behind her. For Lisa last week, she was the real powerhouse in that breakaway group. But for me, she needed to do few 4, maybe 3.5, 4 kilometers out from the finish, just like Yves Lampart did, to try and get away. You look at that when you're in a breakaway group like that with Amy Peters and Elena Cecchini. It was kind of almost like riding for the bronze medal, which is a shame, because I think if she'd nailed it with about 3k to go, which is easier said than done, as you said, it was at 55 km/h winds. But for me, maybe she might have had that edge if she'd managed to jump the 2 of them. It's all hearsay now, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks easier when you're doing it. You're seeing it in TV, but when you're there, maybe you're happy with 3rd, no? So you just prefer working and see maybe maybe you can fight for first and second, but third is fine for you.
Yeah, many medals that she took last week in those championships. You can see now this group starting to think about the finish. Corin Rivera moving up on the outside there in the red jersey of Team Sunweb, out onto this lap again, so up the Hurgrunga climb onto the gravel section.
Ooh.
Looks like Monique Teniglo just going down the left there. So Mitchelton Scott just starting to collect themselves at the front. Lizzie Deignan moving up as well for Trek-Segafredo. Deirdrickson moving up. Wiebes for Park Hotel Valkenburg. I'm just looking around the group in terms of the riders that are in there for Wiebes. She's got a teammate in front of her. So Wiebes, the Dutch champion. Lorena Wiebes, for me, as one of the riders of the year. 20 years old is Lorena Wiebes. National champion this year. Took Ride London after Kirsten Bill was disqualified. She took a stage in the Beanie Ladies Tour. She's won the European Games. She's had 12 victories this season alone, including 3 stages, the general classification, the points, and the youth classification in the Tour of Chongming Island, where she pretty much whitewashed the whole race. She won all 3 stages and every jersey.
Incredible season. It's just, we've seen this rider just do better and better and better, and she's, I don't know, I think we're gonna see a lot of things from her.
Yeah, phenomenal sprinter. But again, these are days like this where you see it. She might just have one teammate left. So again, it's that you see the subtleties of them as a rider and their skill as a rider, and them as, you know, the way tactically, you know, how am I going to just starting to make it into those moves. She had pretty much the strongest team at her disposal last week in the European Championships, and she went into that, you know, for most people as the favourite for that, and kind of almost got lulled into that. Okay, again, I'm a sprinter. I'm going to be led out. I've got Kirsten Field to take me to the finish. If it comes down to a sprint, which of course it doesn't always.
People were questioning about if she could be the favorite of this race because of the length. They didn't know if she could handle that much time in the front, but I think she does. Yeah,
definitely. Looking at this group now, there's Aude Bionique, the Movistar rider. Again, she's got Roxanne Fournier in the team. Ruth Winder, the American national champion there in the Stars and Stripes jersey for Trek-Segafredo, right behind Lizzie Deignan. Deignan, I think, is going to move here. Goes Floortia Mackay. Mackay attacking for Sunweb. Vos reacts. Bastianelli reacts. So Floortia Mackay. Deignan also makes a move as well to make sure that she's on here. So for Team Sunweb, Floortia Mackay, strong rider, swings off, looks around at Deignan. Bastianelli rolling a fairly big gear. Is Bastianelli going to have a bit of a go here? Vos and Van der Breggen very much to the front of this one. So a little testing attack there by Floortia Mackay.
Yeah, I think they want to get rid of the sprinters.
So Corin Rivera just moves up. So looking down this group, so Deignan, Bastianelli, Mackay, Bujak grabs a bottle, Vos, Peters are all there. And here comes Leah Kirschman. Is Kirschman going to have a bit of an attack? Lizzie Deignan slams the door shut. I think Leah just thought she had a bit of a gap there.
Yeah, everybody I think it's just waiting for the attacks and just looking back, and it's like, who's going to be this time?
It was the cycling equivalent of having the door shut in your face, isn't it? You know, when someone closes their front door on you.
You're getting your speed, and then you're like, oh, no, not this time.
Corin Rivera for Sunweb. Now we're starting to see the moves. Rivera, Vos, Brown. Those are your first 3 riders in your line. So Marianne Vos, very noticeable at the front of this race.
Rivera is doing great work for the team. Just really aggressive, and it's been on the breakaway, attacking and attacking.
Bull Dolmans, they've got the European champion Amy Peters. You just see some riders just starting to get distance a little bit on her Grunga. It's Norden that's just on the front of that little group that's just starting to get distanced a little bit. You can see why, the pressure of those attacks. Big move by Floortia Mackay.
And I think for Lisa Norden, that's what happens when you're a strong rider. Maybe she waited wasted a lot of energy in the beginning. And as well, when you're not used to bunch riding, you lose a lot of energy just putting your elbows out. It's just more adrenaline and just get so tired of being aggressive.
It's as a rider, it's about getting to the finish, having conserved the most amount of energy. It's cycling a lot of the time. You think it's a power game, a numbers game. It's about getting to the finish, having used the least amount of energy possible, isn't it, a lot of the time?
Yeah, it took me lots of years to learn that. I was like, I can attack, I have energy, but then by the end of the race, I'm like, yeah, maybe I would have saved some energy. I have no legs by now.
Yeah. So again, it's that efficiency, learning how to move through the peloton without using energy, but trying to, again, I remember Stephen Roach telling me, that was the one thing he used to try and teach the young riders was, if you're braking in the peloton, you're then having to accelerate and use energy. It's about kind of fluidly moving within the peloton to not have to make those sort of microscopic little efforts that just take the power out of your legs for when you need them to win the race.
Exactly. You had to be really, really relaxed. It was always easier said than done because it's a really panicking stage when you're just like in the middle of the bunch and everybody's shouting and then you have the corners. So you're losing energy just by being nervous.
But you can see the pressure very much on the peloton. Lisa Norden trying to bring this little chasing group back. Valerie de May is the rider on the back here for CCC Live. She'll want to try and get herself back in there. Leah Kirschman looking around on the front. Grace Brown, Elena Emiliasuk for Canyon Schramm. Very much to the front of this group. Canyon Schramm, again, strength in numbers. Another little move going in here from Alei Cipollini. This Romy Casper that's going off the front. Rider that was in our group a little bit earlier on.
We can see the pelotons getting really small.
With every attack, I think it's Soraya Paladin actually. I think the picture, the little bit of pixelization on that, not sure. I think it's Soraya Paladin that's going here for Alei Cipollini. We'll get confirmation that would go down again. Look at this. Past the golf course, it's really stretching out. We're starting, we're all in one long line. Those little gaps that are starting to open. We've got this gravel section before we go round for the bell. And then it will be back out for the final time. Perhaps expect some attacks up a Grunga Hill for the final time. And then on to that final gravel. Norden and friends have made it back on, which is good for them. And Lisa would, again, it's like when your parents sit and shout from the side, isn't it? Move up. It's like, try and move up. You hear parents do it all the time to their kids when they're racing. Move up. Yeah, I would have moved up if it was that easy.
Always easier said than done.
Another group now going clear, led by your European champion, Amy Peters. Aude Bionique is there again. Lizzie Deignan again, super vigilant for Trek-Segafredo. Looks like Leah Kirschman from Team Sunweb also at the front. Again, dangerous move. They're not going to let Deignan just ride off the front here. If you are joining us for the first time today, welcome aboard. This is the 18th round of the Women's World Tour, the 14th Post Nord Vårgårda West Sweden road race, 145.3 kilometers, big loop with 5 gravel sections. We've had our shorter laps. This is our final loops. We'll come round and get the bell when we head round next time. This is it's got 1 gravel section on it. We had a breakaway group that when we came on air, you would have said that break's going all the way to the finish. It had Van der Breggen, Brown, Winder, Gutierrez, Klein, Peters, Labous, Brand, Casper, Vollering, Rivera, Bastianelli, Barnes and Brous. They were brought back. Our other move really that has stuck, went through the line was Peroni, Kinetterman and Yonamine, but it now looks like this group, it's going to come down to this. Can anyone get clear? We're on to the Lander gravel section for the penultimate time, 3.1 kilometers in length. Caroline Canuel, so the Canadian champion and the Swedish champion, both down the back of the group. And again, like we said a little bit earlier on, it's very difficult to try and find your way through on these gravel sections.
Yeah, you have to choose your line and try not to skip from one to the other because there's the gravel in the middle and that can get your bike just moving a lot and just you panicking a little.
So the motorbike just down the back of the group here. So you can see Nina Buseman is the Park Hotel Valkenburg rider. It's down the back, just seeing at the front. We're starting to see a couple of riders at the front, just starting to clip off the front. It's Aude Bionic for Movistar. Again, a rider who rides in service of her teammates a lot. Aude Bionic got away, had that that attack on the solo breakaway in the Giro Rosa, and got caught just in sight of the finish. So again, she's a rider, a real admirer of Aude Bionic. She's a for the likes of Ida Marino. You know, we just saw her literally. She was like a pilot fish, for the want of a better description, for the little climber from Spain. Just that sort of rider, just so solidly dedicated to the cause all the time, and you just want, for her, she's been French national champion, but you just love to see her get something like this and these sort of big solid classic wins.
Yeah, she's a great rider. She's been riding in Spain a lot, in Spanish teams also, and I've gotten to know her really pretty well, and she loves teaching to other riders and helping them, and just she's really confident in the bunch, so that really helps Either that doesn't like bunch riding either, so it would be nice to see her win.
It would. Corin Rivera, the rider on the front, and you got it. You again, you look at Corin Rivera. We such a great sprinter, but you got to remember that from Corin, you know, she comes from, again, she's a rider, comes from a cyclocross background. As cyclocross riders, we like to, you know, she was national cyclocross champion as a youngster. She's won, you know, cross championships. Is it something like 65 national titles? I think Corin Rivera's won something like that. I'll double check it. But again, on these sort of gravel sections of gravel roads. Ooh, rider down, Caroline Canuel, just getting clipped by the wheel there, just catching the wheel. I think was starting to go down. Potentially the motorbike just managing to stop. Just got caught on the wrong side of the wheel there. The Canadian national champion.
Yeah, especially by the end of the races, everybody's tired, and just the gravel makes your bike wobble a little. So this is what happens.
It's fatiguing, isn't it? After this, we've got another move going in here. Mitchelton Scott. Those jerseys, the yellow and black. Again, lots of options to play here today, Mitchelton Scott. So the bike just keeping well off the front here as we on this lander section. Decent move. Even this is pushing my limit of rider identification. It's a bit in the distance. Could be Gracie Elvin, could be Monique Taniglo. It's got that. I'm just looking at the height and the style, and it's like when the helicopter's too high in the sky as well. It's a bit like commentating from the NASA space satellite. Sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's Taniglo for the way of riding.
It's just having a little move off the front here. So again, just going past it, exiting the gravel section. And again, there could be the opportunity for a rider to maybe just try and take advantage of the likes of Vos and Van der Breggen and Dijknen, all just looking at each other. This group, as Marianne said, is getting smaller all the time. These riders, I'd say, you know, next time up the climb, it is Taniglo that's going off the front, and I think the next time around, I think a few of the tired riders at the back here up the climb and through the gravel section, this group's going to again thin down even further.
Yeah, and especially the ones in the back. Usually, you're the girls that are more tired and just want to recover. But it's the worst place to be, because every corner you do, you have to sprint out. And just sprinting after sprinting after sprinting is like, oh my God, I have no legs. And that's why your arms stop working, and then you get more crashes. So it's, as they say, it's really important to be in the front.
Monique Taniglo off the front. Couple of chasers. Then we again just starting to stretch this group now. Again, you can see this peloton is all in one long line. Those little gaps as you wrestle to try and get back onto that wheel in front of you. Again, when you're in at this position, you've fought throughout the race. You don't want to be the rider that that loses that wheel, do you?
I hated those sprints. Like every time you came to the corner, just like sprinting and then stop again and sprint again. Those really, really, really hurt.
Yeah, so again, good move. We saw her make one a little bit early on, Monique Taniglo from Mitchelton Scott. So good to see her making the move again, trying to go solo here. Take the opportunities when they arise, and that's what the Mitchelton Scott rider is doing. She's been a strong addition to that team, has the Dutch rider, 31 years old. She's really yet to win a race as a pro, but she's had some strong placings over the years. Lots of podiums over the years, seconds, thirds. She's been up there in sort of classic Morbihan, the Beanie Ladies Tour. She's been up there in Grazia Orlova overall as well. She sort of seems over the last years that she sort of settled into that team role. But when you've had those seconds and thirds, you just want that win, don't you?
Yeah, you need that win.
I was reading as well. If you haven't seen Shane Archbold, who's a very popular rider for Bora Hansgrohe, and this is the thing that it just made me chuckle. He won a stage of the Czech cycling tour the other day, and he just tweeted. He was like, "I forgot to celebrate." It was like it'd been a while, and but yeah. 1 kilometre in towards the finish, Amelie Deirdrickson wearing 15 on the back here for Bull Dolmans. Monique Taniglo, though, is just starting to just stretch out a gap here. There's the sign to Lander where we've just come back from that gravel section for Mitchelton Scott. She's pulling out a good advantage here. Really went well. Again, you said a little bit, you said earlier on when she went, as a Dutch rider, this is absolute perfect territory for her.
Yeah, this is the thing you're used to, so yeah, she's comfortable in this terrain.
So looking around this group, there's Marianne Vos in the orange, Cavalli in that light blue jersey as the best young rider in the Women's World Tour. Annemiek van Vleuten, of course, leading the World Tour overall. She's not here today. Hannah Barnes, again, looking at coming to a sprint. Hannah Barnes, if this came down to a bit of a sprint. Hannah Barnes, we haven't seen her for a while, up there, but 1 lap to go. Monique Taniglo, it's like the world's smallest bell there, isn't it? It's like, it's like make yourself feel like a giant by ringing the world's smallest bell. There you go.
But it's always a good sound to hear especially when you're in the breakaway. It's like, yeah, last lap, come on.
Welcome sound of the bell. 1 lap to go, just 15.4 kilometers remaining. You have 1 leader, but we have plenty of fast finishers in that group behind, the likes of Marianne Vos, Lorena Wiebes, Lisa Brennauer, Lissy Deignan can also have a good bunch kick if she wants to. Roxane Fournier was a rider that we saw in there as well for Movistar. Marta Bastianelli, the Italian national champion. Corin Rivera, Ruth Winder's a good sprinter as well. Comes from a track background, so if it did come down to a group sprint out of this one, there's Wiebes, the Dutch national champion, the red shoulders to her jersey. There's Anna van der Breggen. I would say in this one, van der Breggen, I would say onto the gravel section and maybe onto the climb. Van der Breggen, if she wants to win this one, she's the rider that's going to need to try and get away.
Yeah, she's not that good of a sprinter, so for sure we're going to see a move in the last uphill from her. If she has the legs, of course.
Yeah, we just saw Caroline Canuel trying to come back, the Canadian champion. There's Taniglo, though, battling on this one. There's the aerial shot, though, of her gap. She's got a good gap here. Has Monique, can she build this one through the Hergrunga climb and onto the Lander gravel section for the final time? But again, when you look at the initial breakaway, if you were with us earlier on when that break got caught, the way Marianne Vos closed the gap and Lizzie Deignan that went with her, you've got to have a fairly hefty advantage, haven't you, going into the climb and the gravel for the final time to hold off that sort of Marianne Vos sort of charge.
Yes, like we saw in the La Course, we saw Amanda Spratt just go away like this, a Michael Scott rider going through, and you just thinking she's gonna make it, and then you see Marianne Vos sprinting and she passed her like if she was stopped.
Indeed, so Monique Taniglo just goes through that corner. Let's put a clock on Taniglo. We'll see what the time gap is for her.
Really
it's a
big.
good move. Look at this. So the gap. So we've got the clock on. We'll see what they get. Here comes the peloton into sight now. We're already up to 15 seconds for the Dutch rider from Mitchelton Scott. She's been very animated throughout the race today. So the peloton now. Amy Peters just coming through. Amelie Deirdrickson is up towards the front as well. So they take the corner. And I make that 33 seconds for Monique Taniglo here for Mitchelton Scott. So the Dutch rider on the Australian team, that is a sizable advantage on this final lap. So you can see strong time trialist is Monique.
This looks good.
Yeah, it is. It's a good move. Definitely, that's an advantage. She could push that one out to maybe, I would say, just if she could sort of push it out to sort of 40 seconds, potentially, we could. So that again starts to get up to a sort of race-winning advantage. So we'll see how she gets on through this section. You can see her all of the time on the final lap. This is what you have to do. The tight twist and turn here. You've got to literally jump out of every corner. It's got that sort of Dutch, Belgian, Kermesse kind of feel to it, hasn't it? This,
Yeah, that's why I say she's feeling really comfortable. It's her kind of racing.
So still on the back there, Lisa Norden, 154 for all you triathlon fans. So one of the top triathletes in the world still in this group for Sweden. And I make that 36 seconds as they come out of that corner. So I've got my stopwatch on to sort of try and get our time gaps. So she's building her advantage. We'll put that on again. Look at this, the overhead shot here for Monique Taniglo.
She looks amazing.
Does look good. Came into this, she had a good top 10 at the Classica Femenina in Navarra as well. So she had a top 10 in that one, top 10 in the Classica Morbihan. But as we said, no victories in her pro career.
I've always liked these team tactics because you don't usually see them at the beginning, but they're always there at the end.
Yeah, and you can again. We were chatting yesterday about pins.
Ugh, hate them.
And you see Monique's number here. She's off the front, and the number seems to have pulled out of the two pins there that have kind of been left in her skin suit.
We have to change this. Usually they give you paper numbers. Like if it rains, it's just like they disappear. And then the pins, and you have to put so many, and if somebody puts them on you, they're always pinching you. It's just for me, pins are a nightmare.
Magnets. I always thought magnets would be the answer. You know, little one magnet on the inside, one magnet on the outside. That would do something. And then you had the sticky numbers as well, which didn't work either because it just ruined your jersey as well. So
I think we have so much technology, but then we have to pin numbers. It's like my nightmare.
Cycling basically is keeping the nappy pin industry alive, you would say. Like sporting events, you know, you would say that they're keeping that alive. Monique Taniglo, look at the face, look at the effort now of the Dutch rider. Can she ride clear here? This is, as we said, the Vårgårda Classic here in Sweden. It's got good history. The 14th edition of this one, onto the climb. And again, you see for Mitchelton Scott, nothing here left to chance. The aero road bikes, the skin suit, the technology in the helmet here. She's got the earpiece in. You could just hear the radio again. At that point, the team director behind will just be roaring on Monique Taniglo now to try and go clear. You hear her there just shifting through the gears. Just, again, great position on the bike, isn't she? Just folds those hands on the brake levers, folds it over, getting as aero as possible. And again, just shows how after so many kilometers now, that how much this climb, it doesn't look much on paper, but down onto the little chainring now, it's just, after a while, it's just like, you know, the accumulative fatigue in your legs.
After so many times up this hill, it's just, you don't feel your legs. At the beginning, you're like, oh, this hill is not that bad, but by the last laps, you're like, oof, this is just sticking the hell out of me.
Yeah, so again, you just got that bike behind her. We'll just put, as she crests the summit of this one, we'll put another clock on her. We're not getting any graphics to show what the gap is. I'm going old school. Got my own stopwatch going here just to try and give you the time gaps from our lone leader. There's the peloton behind. We're expecting reactions from this one, and it's Lizzie Deignan, that style of the Trek-Segafredo rider that attacks. Lizzie Deignan now makes a move for Trek-Segafredo. They've worked perfectly throughout the day. They only had Ruth Winder in that early breakaway group. They brought it back under control. Now she makes her move, but the reaction comes straight away. And if there's any pauses, any relaxation from this group, this will play into the hands of Taniglo at the front. Deignan is just pressing on here. Looks like Lucinda Brand, Soraya Paladin right there, Marianne Vos, Marta Bastianelli, Florencia Mackay, Ruth Winder also well up there towards the front. So good move, but not managing to get away at the moment.
Yeah, but their faces say it all. They're just pushing through.
The fatigue on the faces of the riders as they press on. Caroline Canuel, you can see there. Good to see the Canadian rider back in there after that tumble. Norden fighting to try and stay there. Amelie Deirdrickson is right behind her. Nuska Costa just ahead. Now the reaction behind. Taniglo just battling on the solo effort of the Mitchelton Scott rider out at the head of the race. You can see the attacks come from that group behind. They're over the top of that one, but perhaps these attacks are going to come too late. They've got that final gravel section to go. Every time now, you can see every time that the peloton swing off like this, these little attacks, this is all playing into the hands of our lone rider.
Yeah, this looking always in their shoulder is just perfect for her. It's what she needs.
Florencia Mackay comes through, swings off again. Vos doesn't take over. She's hoping that they're going to carry on and try and bring this one back. Amy Peters is well to the front here as well for Bull Dolmans. There's the aerial shot. You can see that that peloton is really starting to fracture under those attacks on that climb from Lizzie Deignan. But unless they persist with this one, riders will come back. So Monique Taniglo, good timed move through the gravel section across Lander, the penultimate time before they took the bell. There he is, there she is. There's the aerial shot of our lone leader. There's the group behind, so it's the attacks are gradually just eating into her advantage. But again, this forward camera angle here just foreshortens that gap, but they have got her in their sights. That will help. But they've gone over the climb. Deignan tried the attack, but it almost didn't look like full commitment there, that attack by Deignan.
No, I think she knew she wasn't going to make that bigger gap. Riders know it's an uphill, but you can suffer through it. It's not that long.
And you can hear a lot of shouting going on within this group. So everyone just roaring at each other, shouting at each other, warning each other what was going on there. So Mavi Garcia, number 116 there. Good to see Mavi back in there as well. And they've got the rider with her. Roxanne Fournier, 112 is the rider for Team Movistar. You can see the Mitchelton Scott teammates of Monique Taniglo are just up towards the front, just trying to subtly interfere with the chase. So you can see that the CCC Live colours swing off, and straight away the attacks come over the top. We go past the golf course, these long straight roads through the trees as we head towards the final section of gravel. They really, the attacks here, while great, they need to get this chase organised, because Monique Taniglo, she's got that gap. She's just sat there, constant pace, while behind you've got that little acceleration, those little as they slow down straight afterwards. It's all helping our lone leader at the moment.
Yeah, this is what makes racing interesting, because you think they're gonna get it, but then they stop and they start and they stop. It's just that it's exciting. What do you think is gonna happen?
Do you know what my heart just said? My heart says that I just want Monique to solo this one. We love it when we saw it last week in the Euros. You know, just someone getting out, they're just hanging on when we think it's going to come down to a group sprint. You can see it's a reduced group sprint, but just this solo effort, the breakaway. I think for me, the solo win, the solo breakaway, it's a victory in its purest form. It's just you against the group, and yeah, my heart wants her to hang on here. It would be great, and I think. For a rider, she's been around the peloton for quite a few years now, hasn't she? Many years, 10 pro with Rabobank Live. But I think that there would be a lot of happy people for Monique to take a victory, because as we said a little bit earlier on, she rides so selflessly for the rest of the time. She's one of those riders that spends most of her life just working for everyone else.
Yeah, it's good to see this happening. Her winning is just a happy ending, no? To a race.
Definitely. Sarah Roy is the rider there, Monique's teammate, who's just kind of attached herself to the wheel of Marianne Vos. Lorena Wiebes just moving up as well. So again, it's going to look at this one. It's the teams that might have riders that potentially could try and chase this one down. There's no real concerted chase at the moment. I think it's going to come down to someone like a Trek-Segafredo, potentially, to try and bring this one back. But they need to get this one organised, otherwise Taniglo is gone and she is going to ride all the way in towards the finish.
Yeah, it's looking good for her.
Anastasia Kursina is there, and Marianne Vos's teammate Valerie Demey just getting back on. So a few riders just getting back on here. Costa, Norden, Canuel gets back in as well. So these riders, as they go onto the gravel section for the final time. This is the Lander gravel. This was on the big loop that we had early on in the day. So this group just gets back on the entry to that gravel section. Probably not where you want to get back on, really, is it?
You're always thinking, yes, I'm back on. And then they started pushing it again. It's like, no, not again. So you're just making the rubber, how we called it, just back and stop again, and then back and stop again.
Aerial shot here, your lone leader just going from one section, one side of the gravel road to the other, just skipping across the middle. We'll try and put a watch on her as potentially as she exits the gravel. We're starting to see now this group again stretching out as they start to climb on this section. Can Monique Taniglo hang on to the finish, or will she get caught in sight of the line? Last year it came down to a reduced group sprint where Marianne Vos jumped clear into that final corner, and you can just see some little gaps just starting to open at the front. They've got to start attacking out of this group to try and get across to our lone leader, the Dutch rider on the Australian team. Will she manage to hang on to the finish? Her teammates, again, when you see they're all up towards the front, then they're just subtly trying to interrupt the movement of the group, and they're doing a perfect job at the moment.
Yeah, I love their team tactics. That's what I said. You never see them at the beginning, but then at the end, they're always there and doing a great job.
So these, again, through these little twists and turns, the camera seem at the back, just focusing on the is at the back of the group on this one. It'd be good to get some shots at the front. It looks like we're only starting to get those as we exit the gravel section into the sun. It's been a great day weather-wise, as you said earlier, perfect day weather-wise for this race. And now we're starting to see big attack now going in. Who's this one? So seeing that jersey, it's a Sunweb jersey that's going off the front. So a big attack now. There's Taniglo, there's the group. They are almost on her. And those attacks behind, it looks like the style of Florentia Mackay from Team Sunweb, because they know they've almost got her in her sights. It is Mackay, there's Dignan, Winder moving up on the outside. So just again takes that deep section on that corner. Mackay looks back over the shoulder. Again, the forward shot just foreshortens it just very slightly, but Dignan reacts, so does Marianne Vos. Looking at that group, so they're, is it going to be heartbreak for the Dutch rider? But again, if this all comes back, they start to look around at each other. There's your leader just on the right-hand side of your picture. It's very tight for Monique at the moment. So taking this gravel section, this is where she went a lap previously. You can see just how much the pressure is on that chasing group behind. But again, if the momentum just goes out of the chase, it might just momentarily allow Monique Teniglo to try and go clear again, because you can bet that she is, until they just go past her, you will never ever give up without a fight in this position.
No, you can never give up, because you don't know if they're gonna look at each other and just stop, and you just have to give it your all. No turning back.
Not at all. So there's the group. So they're all still there. So a lot of the sprinters again. The likes of Wiebes, Bastianelli, they'll all be confident that they can win this in a sprint. They're all playing that game of poker now, aren't they? It's all about, right, no, you chase. I know I can win this in a sprint, but then you've got to play that calculated risk that it might not come back. Trek-Segafredo have got plenty of riders in this group. And out onto the roads. And again, they lead out of that one. They could do potentially, as they go in with a little bit of chase. I'd say Lizzie would have wanted to try and get away on her own, but there's Teniglo that just comes up, and now that gives them a bit of a boost that they're almost going to make the catch. So again, we said going to be heartbreak. It's a shame. What a ride though for Monique. The catch. It looks from the aerial shot there. We're not getting any shots from that front motorbike, which is a shame. Maybe they've got a bit of a problem with the signal from that one. They were relying here on the helicopter shot. So now 3 riders here, just off the front. So Mitchelton Scott again are clear. Marianne Vos, it looks like the rider on the back. So Vos just going clear. So the catch was made around there. So just having a little glance back over the shoulder. Back down to this group. Just see those 3 riders just off the front there. There's Mavi Garcia, the Movistar rider, coming back from that broken collarbone just before Giro Rosa. So riding back into race-winning form. So it looks like, after all that, it looks like we're going to have a sprint out of this group. But a little move. Is that Vos now going? It is. But so that CCC Live jersey, everyone would be expecting her to wait for the sprint. So has a little dig off the front. Everyone reacts, sits up. Is that Lucinda Brand now is going? Lucinda Brand for Sunweb makes a move. So right on schedule. Now those the sprinters, anyone in that group behind that feels that they can take this one in a group kick. Now it's Park Hotel Valkenburg. They've got Wiebes in there. Bastianelli is well up towards the front. Here comes Sarah Roy on the left of your picture there for Mitchelton Scott. Alei Cipollini are there as well. We'll just see if Alei Cipollini, have a look and see what jersey that they've still got in there. Chloe Hosking, of course, the sprinter for Alei Cipollini. She wears 91, so Alei Cipollini have got a few jerseys up towards the front here. Here comes Wiebes. You can see in the Dutch national champions, red, white and blue jersey. Wiebes moves up on the left alongside the Tricolore, the Italian national champion of Bastianelli. Bastianelli right up towards the front. Let's have a look at the front on shot. Chloe Hosking is there. Hosking is there for Alei Cipollini. Vertu now are starting to lead this one out. Ruth Winder for Trek-Segafredo, getting herself upside alongside Amy Peters and Marianne Vos. So Vos, same as last year, takes that corner, but Bastianelli is with her. Marianne Vos kicks it out of that corner. Is she going to do the same as last year? Bastianelli is trying to come back to her. Marianne Vos, though, 150 metres to go towards the line. Marianne Vos looks like she's got a bit of a gap over the rest of the riders. Bastianelli tries to come through. It's going to be between Vos and Bastianelli. Bastianelli is celebrating. Vos went into that final corner. Bastianelli ground her way back there, and she is the one that's celebrating on the line. A tough sprint finish there. Marianne Vos trying to replicate exactly how she won this race last year.
What a ride! Oh my god, that was exciting.
So again, that was a great show. It's a shame we didn't see more of the head-on shot there of the sprint. But Marianne Vos gapped everyone out of that corner. Bastianelli is celebrating. It was a big gear sprint there from Bastianelli, wasn't it?
Yeah, what a year she's having.
There's Lisa Norden rides in, one of the rides of the day from the triathlete. I think she's just upped her value. Virtu are celebrating. Baba Gorishki is, they did a great lead out there. Anuska Costa and a good day. Anna van der Breggen got herself into the early breakaway. Monique Teniglo goes back. A heartbreak for her. I think everyone in the world was rooting for Monique there, weren't they, to hang on.
Yeah, that would have been a perfect ending, but sprinters just like to win.
Yeah, great tactic. I hope you enjoyed that. What a day's racing. That was a great edition of the Vårgårda West Sweden road race. It always gives us great racing, does this course. It doesn't disappoint again. And you look at Matt again, you look at Vos going into that final corner. As he said last year, you know, it was almost, you know, carbon copy of last year, but the Italian champion, you know, hats off to her for that one. Just that was a long drawn out sprint, that one, wasn't it?
What a ride. Yeah, I thought Marianne had it, but
let's have a look at the lead in. So leading into that final corner, here goes Vos. So Vos just leading into that corner. Bastianelli again, she's just pushing that to the limit there. And out of that corner, this is the shot that we had here. We didn't get much of a head-on shot. Bastianelli, Wiebes as well is there trying to find out that, get into that slipstream. Vos, though, at this point, you would have said she had it. Bastianelli, seated acceleration all towards the line. Bastianelli is celebrating. From there, I want to see the photo, because that looks closer than, you know. Let's have a, yeah, they're focusing on her. Again, that was tight, I would say, that sprint. Maybe the side-on shot there, the front shot there was, you know, fairly far out, but yeah.
But as a sprinter, you know when you won, no? So they clearly they know.
But also as a sprinter, if it's close, you celebrate anyway, don't you?
Do you think? If it's close, I do not celebrate.
If it's close, you'd put your arm up, you know. Do you know what? Just in case it's that close that they can't separate it.
No, I prefer not to celebrate, and then if you get it, you'll celebrate. But if not, it's like, uh-oh. So if you do, it's clearly that you won.
Oh, yeah. You got to, win it comfortably, isn't it?
And you could see Marianne's face. She wasn't happy.
No. There's the overhead shot there of the team vans and the team trucks. If you weren't with us earlier, again, excuse me if I repeat myself, because people do dive in and out of our coverage, but don't forget, put in your diaries. There's a lot of territories next week. We've got the Ladies Tour of Norway, because all of these riders will go from here, not far away, to Norway for Ladies Tour of Norway. We'll also be bringing you the Colorado Classic live. We'll be bringing you that one as well. Ladies Tour of Norway, great race. And of course, this weekend, the Vårgårda race, we've got this one next year, but this is going to be what we call the game of, what I'm now nicknaming the Game of Thrones of cycling, the Battle of the North. It will become in 2021.
Good addition to women's cycling.
Yeah, so it's going to become, if you haven't seen the news, the 10-day stage race combining this weekend of racing with the Tour of Norway and Danish cycling. So the Scandinavian countries coming together to put on a new race that they hope will grow into the women's Tour de France, or the Grand Tour.
Do you think we're going to see a side picture?
I would like to see the photo. Actually, sometimes, you know, if the photo finish isn't connected to the broadcast truck, sometimes it can be difficult. But I would love to see that photo finish, just to see how close it actually is, right on the line. So yeah, a great finish. Again, you look at that and you see the way that Marianne Vos went into that final corner, and it just, you know, just using absolutely every millimeter. But let's putting up the preliminary results. So Marta Bastianelli ahead of Marianne Vos, Lorena Wiebes, Chloe Hosking, Amy Peters, Marta Cavalli, Maria Giulia Confalonieri, Ruth Winder gets up there as well. Stina Borgli gets up there for Norway. Leah Kirschman for Canada up there in 10th place. So a good top 10 there. Good race.
Great race. Always exciting.
It is. It does give us good racing. Does Vårgårda. And here's Marianne Vos.
Marianne Vos, after winning Vårgårda last year, this time it's a few centimeters and second place. What was different?
Well, the whole race was actually quite fast and a lot of attacks, and also in the final. And yeah, what was different is that Bastianelli was coming around now this time in the final straight.
It looked like you're doing it exactly the same throughout the last corner there. Can you talk me a little through the sprint?
Well, it was actually quite a good lead out from Ale Cipollini and Vertu, and then I think it was Marta Bastianelli in my wheel, and yeah, it was just a little too long. I didn't have the legs anymore, and Marta was too strong coming around.
How difficult was the race in general? It was a really strong crew pretty early that needed to be chased down, so it was a hard race all the time.
Yeah, it was actually, it's always fast there. I don't know what it is. It's probably the things that follow up on each other all the time. It's either gravel or you go to the climb in the final, and then, I think that's what makes it hard.
And then on the final lap, Monique Teniclo was alone at the front. Was there a chance for her to make that, or was it all controlled by the bunch back there?
Well, there was still a lot of numbers in the bunch, but it was definitely a strong attack. So it was a strong chase that was needed, and there was more individuals than really teams. But of course, when the bunch is getting ready for the sprint, it gains a lot of speed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's always a tough interview, isn't it? When you've just been picked on the line and they want to know why.
Yeah, and especially after a hard race, as you said, it was full gas since the beginning, so there were that many rests and you couldn't relax that much with the gravel, the uphills, the cornering, the town. So
yeah, I mean, we came on air sort of 100 kilometers to go, and beyond that sort of momentary lull when that early breakaway was caught, it was pretty relentless, wasn't it, the pace?
yeah, the big attacks, the teams needing to chase, and then attacks after attacks, and yeah, always exciting race.
So there's your aerial shot there of all the team trucks and the team vans post race. So hopefully we'll get a chance to hear from Marta Bastianelli. There's a little tweet there as well. Miko Konda. Just once I wish to dare to take the corners as fast and brilliantly as Marianne Vos does in every race. What an artist. That's such a good description. Almost paid off again. Impressive sprint by Marta Bastianelli. It is art, isn't it? That's a great description.
The control she has of the bike, it's incredible.
Yeah, as we say, the multi-discipline rider. There's your result. They do pop it up from time to time, just in case you're wondering, because things do change from time to time. Bastianelli, Vos, and Wiebes is your podium. Chloe Hosking, good ride by Chloe Hosking today. So coming back from that crash on the last round of the before we came to Sweden, the Prudential Ride London Classic, went down in the crash there. No major injuries, so it's good to see Chloe getting back up there. A European champion last week, Amy Peters. So for Marianne, there's again coming into this one, we like, you know, the way everyone is at the moment, the way the media react to Mathieu van der Poel, like if he gets beaten, and yesterday he was sickness, not holding on to his jersey in Norway. But for Marianne, it's that, why didn't you win that one today, Marianne? There's that level of expectation all the time as well. And if Marianne is potentially looking for the World Road Race Championships, we don't know how she is with coming into her form cycle, isn't she? Because the way you handle your training and the way you the form dips to come back up again.
Yeah, it's always a lot. I hate it when people just assume that you're gonna win your Marianne and you have to win. There's so many people that can win, and a lot of things can happen. She had a puncture at the beginning, and then it was a really hard race, and all the teams are attacking. So she's strong, but she can be beaten.
Yeah, it was definitely a good day today for Monique Teniglo, though. I mean, we've had sort of Twitter up and that kind of thing as well. I think the whole of the sort of the cycling world, was just willing her to hang on, wasn't she? I know there was a lot of tweets we could see flashing up saying, this would be a very, very popular win if she managed to hang on. But it was a gutsy move, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I love how she just committed to it. She never gave up, and she just pushed through it. And she didn't win, but she made us really exciting race.
Yeah, she was getting close. I mean, again, I think sort of showing the race in the length, that that big group that we had early on. We had Lucinda Brand in there, we had Anna van der Breggen, we had Corin Rivera in there as well. And again, it just shows the dynamic of the way the Women's World Tour works and the way pro cycling. I mean, you've been in there as a pro rider, and today, would you say, was a prime example of that in the way it was ridden, and ultimately as the course went on.
Yeah, I think today was a perfect example. It's almost always like that. It's just aggressive riding, really hard pace since the beginning, and then just attacks, and it's growing, and it's getting better all the time, and the teams are getting better.
Here's Lorena Wiebes.
You won a lot of sprints this season already, but I guess this one today is still a happy result, right?
Yeah, it was a really hard race, and I had cramps at the end, so it was the best I can get. So it's good.
Can you tell me a little about the sprint, about the finale of the race? Because everybody knows that this last corner is really crucial, and Vos won it by maneuvering that very well last year. How was it this year?
This year also Vos came really hard through the last corner, and she had a gap, but Marta takes her at the finish line, and I think I was third or fourth at the last corner, so it was good enough.
Talking about cramps, how do you do that? Cramping and then still sprinting for a third place on a World Tour race?
Just do it and don't think about it, and hope that the sprint is still good enough. But it was painful.
I can imagine. It was good enough. Thank you very much.
Lorena Wiebes sprints today to third place. Like she said there, in that position, cramping. She's a young rider, who said a little bit earlier on. She's only 20, but that's where that shows that the mindset of a rider, a pro rider, top rider, sprinter, that she puts it behind her. Let's hear from Marta Bastianelli.
Marianne Vos by, I think it was just a few centimeters. How does that feel?
I am very happy to win this race today. I am not really good for me, because my season have a little bit problem in the before the Giro. I have the problem with my knee, and I return now after the Euro Championship. Today I am one important, very important team, especially Barbara Guarischi helped me in the final. I know it's important to enter in the last corner, second position. I take Marianne wheel, and she take the sprint very long, and I follow your wheel for the finish, and it's good.
You immediately celebrated. You immediately knew that you won, because when you saw it on TV, it looked like it was very close.
I am the breakaway in the start of the race, and after my legs have a little bit problem in the last K. But I winner very close, but I winner and I am happy. I am happy for my new T-shirt, for the team, for my coach, Small Carmen.
And also for the team in general, I guess. How important is that victory in the situation that the team is in at the moment?
Yeah, it's very happy because my work don't finish when finish the team. When I know the news, my team close, I continue to work because it's my job. And for me, it's important have this have an important imagine for the team from now to finish the season. And for me, it's important because now I check the team for next year, and I would have a good team for have a good year next year because it's important here. There is the Olympic game, and for me it's very, very important. And now nothing. I am happy for today.
You can enjoy the evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Marta Bastianelli there. So again, just saying, coming back from that knee injury, and again, it just shows again the commitment. Pro rider. Thanking everyone. Barbara Gorishki, you saw that lead out there for Barbara Gorishki. Barbara is a phenomenal sprinter as well. Great lead out for her. You know, in that situation, it's tough, isn't it? You know that the team's finishing, but as she said, it's her job. She's got to get out there. She's a former world champion. You can see the rainbow cuffs on her jersey. Italian national champion, because right up until it isn't over until it's over, is it? I mean, as a team, a sponsor could come along at any time that's watching this, that just goes, do you know what? I'm going to back that. I'm going to get involved. I'm going to back that team.
Yeah, they've had a great season, that team. Carmen Small, the team director, has done a great job. She used to be a racer as well, and she knows how the team works. And it can show how professional the riders are. So it's a good day for the team.
And I think looking at that sprint as well, you see the two very different sprinters, between Marianne Vos going super long in that sprint, but she's so explosive, and you see that snap that Vos has, and then you see Marta Bastianelli, much bigger gear, just grinding out
Power.
that sprint.
Pure. One, it's more like quick sprinting, and the other is just power through it. So yeah, good day for the team. Yeah,
it's been a good one, as we said. Don't forget, we have got a big week ahead of us here, and it's big thanks to Marianne for joining us this weekend. So next week we have the Ladies Tour of Norway and the Colorado Classic. We've got Danny Rowe with me for the first couple of days. Hannah Walker is here for a couple of days as well. Don't forget, subscribe to GCN Racing. Hit that bell icon so that you're notified every time we upload a new video on Facebook. Like, share, and follow us on there as well, and you'll be notified. Loads more highlights and live action to come from both of us. Hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you again soon. Bye for now.
Hasta la próxima.